Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Lauren. It's Janice. I think PIO was out there, but I haven't heard from them in a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just doing an audio check. Lauren White, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Barely can hear you.
Did you hear her talk today?
No, I've only emailed her back for today.
Well, she is.
Cole Fitzpatrick, can you hear me?
Yes.
She said she just couldn't talk.
We will begin momentarily.
Good evening to everyone, and welcome to the Pitt County Board of Commissioners meeting. I welcome all who are present and on the phones and on YouTube. At this time, I call the Pitt County Board of Commissioners meeting to order.
Chairman, can I note we have 3 commissioners attending virtually. We have Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick and Commissioner White and Commissioner McLaughlin.
Yes. We want to notate that. At this time, we'll have call the roll.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Here.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Commissioner Albright.
Here.
Commissioner Colson.
Here.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Here.
Commissioner Nunnally.
Here.
Commissioner Ward.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Here.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. At this time, we will have invocation by Commissioner Melvin Mclaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May we all stand as we take a moment of silence to remember those who lost their lives 20 years ago on 9/11. Thank you, Eternal God. We come this evening to thank you for your many blessings. We ask that you be with us and guide and lead us throughout this meeting. In thy holy name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, can we ask anybody who's participating virtually if they have this meeting going on in the background on TV, if they would turn the volume down? We're getting a little bit of an echo or reverberation from that.
Okay. As the manager said, if you are listening and you have your TV on, please turn it down. Thank you. At this time, we will have approval of the agenda, but before that, we would like to move the Rose High presentation up before the public address to the board. Is that all we need to move?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if I could have a motion to approve the agenda with that change.
Motion to approve.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we approve the agenda with that change. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
He's muted. Looks like. Now,
Yes.
try him again.
He just said yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Yes.
Okay, we heard him.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. At this time, we will have the recognition of the J.H. Rose varsity baseball team champions 3A for 2021. Mr. Manager?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to go down front. We're going to ask the coaches to come in first, and then to try to keep our occupancy limit low in the room, we're going to bring the players in who are here, hand them their certificates. We'll read the resolution or the overall, and then do each player one by one. So we're not loading the room full of people.
Okay.
Coaches come in first. Recognize the team tonight. So it says, is entitled Pitt County Board of Commissioners Resolution of Recognition honoring the G.H. Rose varsity baseball team. Whereas the 2021 G.H. Rose varsity baseball team played baseball with remarkable success and dignity as representative of Pitt County and the state of North Carolina. And whereas the 2021 Rose varsity baseball team won the 3A state baseball championship by beating Coxville 2-0. Whereas the players, coaches, and families of the Rose varsity baseball team deserve congratulations for the time, effort, and resources they committed to going all the way and winning the 3A state baseball championship. The following are the team members: Wade Jarman, Will Casey, Randy Bryan, Owen Boyd, Lee Watson, Teray Cherry, Cole Watkins, Carson Everett, Chase Anderson, Anthony Popovich, Hoyt Fuquay, Michael Allen, Mitch Jones, Caleb May, Danny Sadler, Jackson Searles, Cam Greenway, Riker Scholastica, Grayson Meyer, Gray Olson, Tyler Bonds, Harrison Gray, AJ Briley, Chase Cobb, Will Jenkins, and Perry. I'm glad you're here tonight. The baseball staff: Ronald Vincent, head coach; Blake Medlin, assistant coach; Chuck Humphrey, assistant coach; and Tommy Hummer, assistant coach. Now therefore be resolved, the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize the outstanding achievements of the 2021 G.H. Rose varsity baseball team and congratulates the players, coaches, and families for breaking the 3A state baseball championship to Pitt County, North Carolina, adopted this 13th day of 2021 of Pitt County Board of Commissioners, signed by our chairwoman, Ann Floyd Huggins, and our clerk, Kimberly W. Hines. If you'd like to present that. Thank you. We want to recognize we want Ronald Vincent. All right, as I call the young men in for their. We're only going to call the young men who are here tonight. We have Wade Jarman first. Mr. Jarman, take it forward. And we'll read one of these certificates. It says, certificate of recognition is awarded to Wade Jarman for participating as a player in the 3A North Carolina State Baseball Championship, presented by the Pitt County Board of Commissioners on the 13th day of September 2021, signed by Chairwoman Ann Floyd Huggins. Congratulations. And if we can ask you to go back in the hallway, once you see your Casey? Yeah. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Thank you. Next, Cole Watkins. Congratulations. Well done. Anthony Popovich.
For remembering the coaches.
He's doing better than he's been in 20 years. Looks better, healthier. Just praise the Lord. Thank you for what you do. Coach Benson, Coach, my son's and he and his student.
Okay. Next, we will move on to our public address. Mr. Manager, do we have anybody signed up to speak at this time? We
Yes,
will
ma'am.
open our public address time.
Yes, ma'am. We have one person signed up on the sign-up sheet, Marcus Kirchen. If you'll come forward and give us your name and where you reside.
Long speeches and a lot of people, no need for reruns. Marcus Carrigan here, represent our committee and the people of this county, state, and nation, everything on the restoration, of course, our monument that was illegally taken down from the Pitt County Courthouse. And we're still working on getting it restored back where it rightfully goes at the Pitt County Courthouse. And we would just like to know what's being done about this, because we don't want to, it's not just about our county and this monument here. As we all know, it's going across the whole nation. And we're following in other countries' footsteps, say like Venezuela, one of the richest countries in the world it used to be until they've done the same thing that we're doing. And we don't want to follow their footsteps. You can see how much tragedy and destruction has been coming to this nation for so long, doing these type of communist, socialist type moves. And we just don't need, we're going to keep on fighting, but we don't want it to go into, we're already concerned with legal counsel. We don't want to go into civil suits against the commissioners and everything, but that's the way it's going. If there's any way we can prevent this from happening and it'd be less time, less costliness and everything for everyone, it would be greatly appreciated, I'm sure, for everyone. This has gone on way too long. We need to get this matter resolved. So appreciate it, and y'all have a blessed night.
Madam
I'm
Chairwoman,
sorry, we didn't do the time. We didn't advise him of the time, but
I think we were within the policy.
yeah, we were saying, yeah.
So that's all we have signed up, unless there's anybody else in the audience who did not sign up who wishes to speak.
Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will close the public address period. And we'll move forward to the next item on the agenda, which is the Economic Development Report from Kelly Andrews. Mr. Manager, do you have anything to say before?
No, I think she's ready to go and has a report for you and some good stuff to tell you.
Okay.
Well, good evening, Commissioners, or Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners. I'm delighted to be before you tonight to do my Economic Development Report and also introduce you to the full staff of the Pitt County Economic Development Department. We have 4 staff people, including myself, and I wanted to introduce you because we have just hired, as of end of July, our 4th person that rounds out the team. And we have a wonderful team, so I wanted to make sure you knew them, and able to engage with them, and feel free to call on them for all of our economic development work. First, we have Crystal Melton, who's been with us for over 6 years now. She came in 2015. She has been instrumental in being our office manager, as well as the manager of our Technology Enterprise Center, which is our business incubator. She handles the maintenance, upfit, tenant relations, tenant and vendor agreements and contracts for that that building and that entrepreneurship initiative that the county owns the building and that we undertake on behalf of the county, and certainly handles the office and everything to do with keeping us together in the Economic Development Office. So she has been a lifeline for us and has been there 6.5 years, going on 7, and we couldn't do it without her. Then in April, Wayne Rollins came on. Wayne Rollins actually retired from the Mideast Commission in February, and he failed at retirement and decided to come back to work for us 2 months later. And we're so glad that he did, because his experience in workforce development, his industry contacts, workforce development and industry acumen have been a wonderful addition to the team, as he is our retention and expansion specialist. And that means he goes out and interacts with and interfaces with and partners with our industries and our other partners to make sure that we understand, we're aware of, and that we address and support the needs of our existing industry. Why this is so important is because most of our new jobs come from our existing industries, and our industry sector is our largest contributor to the county's GDP. So it's imperative that we have someone in this position. And there's lots going on, and we certainly welcome Wayne in this position, and he's doing a wonderful job. And then lastly, Chris Bulla came on at the very end of July to round out the team. And Chris comes to us from a many decades of it, or I say many decades, several decades, about 25 years of experience in various jobs in marketing, management, and director of areas such as the North Carolina Zoo and the North Carolina State Fair, and Randolph County Tourism. So her work in marketing and placemaking in different areas and different assets around the state are a welcome addition to us as we look to brand Pitt County and our metropolitan statistical area. And I think that's something that we have, we need to ramp up with our partners, and she is, I think, the perfect person to do it. So we welcome Chris. And let's see if you would like. So I will give a few updates as of August to today, which I think is
Kelly, may I say something? I just want to welcome,
Yeah.
we want to welcome them and thank them.
Thank
and,
you.
And we're looking forward to working with them.
We're really excited to have the team together, and we're already having fun and doing some interesting and hopefully great things for Pitt County. So as of, I think the last time I was before you was the end of July, so it's probably been about 6 weeks since I've done an economic development update. So I want to hit on the key areas, the cornerstones of economic development, one of them being marketing. And again, that's why we hired Chris in that marketing and recruitment position. We are looking at strategic marketing and doing a new revamped, revitalized plan, and rebranding us as not only the Economic Development Department, but looking at ways that we can brand, again, our county and our MSA, our Metropolitan Statistical Area, with other partners. We have so many things going on, so many assets, and so many people that tie into this marketing effort, which goes to everything else we do: workforce development, recruitment, existing industry. All of that has a marketing element to it. You have to create awareness. You have to distribute information, and you have to have very cohesive messaging, and that's what we aim to do. So that is underway. We also will be looking specifically the first week of October, which is National Manufacturing Week. And what we're doing, and we're having to do it virtually, is we are moving our existing Industry of the Year announcement to that week. And so we will be naming our Industry of the Year, but we'll also be doing some other messaging to celebrate and to support and to amplify and augment our existing industries and talk about how important manufacturing is to our economy. So look for that on social media that week. Other things that we haven't been able to do in the last 18 months or so because of travel restrictions have been going to trade shows and events. But Chris was able to go to Snackspo, which was in Charlotte, which is the International Food and Beverage Expo. And so that was a nice first trip for her, but it was, again, we're getting back into interfacing with and collaborating with our state partners to do things like this to help attract industries such as food and beverage. And then something that's kind of, I think, undervalued is the value of the sponsorships that we do. They're not huge amounts of money, but we do things like the Little League Softball World Series and the North Carolina Museum of Natural Science grand opening, which is coming up this weekend. Career fairs, Med Week, the Minority Enterprise Development Week, which we've been sponsoring for many years, and the Entrepreneurship Challenge that ECU puts on. All of these things touch different elements: workforce development, entrepreneurship, placemaking, arts, culture, recreation, and all these things make up the fabric of what's great about Pitt County. And it's not just a PR value, which, again, there is a value in that PR, but it's getting our message out, and it's also supporting some very worthwhile efforts and helping those to actually happen and continue to happen, like with the World Series, which will happen over 5 years. So we'll continue to look for areas of sponsorships that really speak to our placemaking and marketing efforts. And then retention and expansion of our existing industry. Wayne's been out there visiting companies like Fuji Silicia and Hyster-Yale and D.R. Burton, going on plant tours, engaging with different people within the company. It's not checking the box, it's going out there and really understanding what they need. For instance, one of the things that he did was with one particular company, they were frustrated because they were getting, or felt like some of their employees were getting poached by other companies. Very frustrated, and Wayne went out there and said, he actually took some research that he pulled from some of our data sources that we commissioned and said, look, your wages are well below the industry standard and the county standard in manufacturing. You really need to, it's not that they're doing this on purpose. You're under, your wages are not high enough, and they have actually increased their wages out there at that plant. I won't mention who it is, but that's some of the things that we can do as a service to them. We can engage ECU, PCC, other partners to help bring resources together. These resources are here. We've just got to aggregate them, bring them together, and that's why having a position like this is so important. And then we serve on committees like the Reentry Council or different workforce development boards and different things to help, again, support and promote our existing industry. And then recruitment. Recruitment gets a lot of the accolades and gets a lot of the press, but some of these other things are as important. But recruitment activity has been really good. We have 20 active projects, and that means things that we have been working on and things that came in new over the last 6 weeks. So new investment means new projects that would bring new investment to the county. That doesn't mean they're brand new to us in the 6 weeks. It just means we were working on them, or we continue to work on them, or they were brand new. So there are 12 of those, and then 8 of those are existing industry expansion projects that are jobs and or investment for those companies. And again, that's direct calls to us or some of the information that Wayne got by going out there. Some of the challenges that we have, however, are that when we do get requests for buildings and sites, because that's the first thing we get, Do you have a site or a building that would fit this company? All that other stuff comes after that. Do you have the workforce? Do you have the infrastructure? We had to turn away half of the ones that came from EDP&C, the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. And that's where most of our leads come from, at least the sizable leads. And then we had one consultant request that we had to turn down. And of those, you'll see that one of those, they needed a building over 250,000 square feet. One, they needed a rail-served site with certain parameters. Two, they needed a building 50 to 75,000 square feet. And three, they needed a building 100 to 200,000 square feet. So that is an issue, but it also helps us as we are designing our next shell building and buildings. And I say that with an S because we are looking at doing multiple buildings, but we do aggregate that information so that we can determine the best plan for developing product. And that's sites themselves and or buildings. And then we have other things, small business entrepreneurship, a lot of paperwork, leases, grants, and contracts. As I mentioned, Crystal does so much out of the Technology Enterprise Center. She's a behind the scenes person that does so much, but we do have tenants interested in the tech. We have a tenant application that's been approved that has a lease pending. And then we have tenants out there that we've connected to sources of grants and loans. So one we just know, just received a $50,000 loan from the Mideast Commission's revolving loan fund, which was some COVID funds that came into them, and they had a revolving loan fund to grow his business. And he's looking to grow. This is called Scout Scientific, and he's been in our Technology Enterprise Center about a year. Then Greenville Produce is also an existing industry for which you, the commissioners, did approve a grant match, and they received a $35,000 NC Commerce Building Reuse Grant, which is going to help them grow not only in the size of their facility, but also add at least 10 jobs. And they are a food aggregation and distribution. They do a lot of good things for the food distribution to underserved areas in the area in Pitt County, but they also, again, are a growing business. And then we also are trying to develop sites. So we did submit, which you approved us to submit for an NC Railroad Rail Ready Sites application, and we're waiting to see if we get picked up for that. And then we're closing in on site development, which you talked about a little bit before. We put out an RFQ to build a shell building in Farmville Corporate Park. And we have a due date of Wednesday, September 15th. So we've already gotten a couple in. We're looking for someone to be the designer and construction management firm for that. So we are looking forward to getting some dirt moved and getting some buildings out of the ground. And we also continue discussions with the Greenville ENC Alliance because we own land in Indergreen right beside them. There's 3 lots there. We own 2, they own 1 that we're looking to do a shell building on as well. We also own the 130 acres, of which we have a smart site certification earlier this summer that was done. And the signage is going out there on September 22nd, which will showcase that site and show that we have a shovel-ready site right on the bypass. So that does help us in our recruitment efforts. And then other activity, just very quickly, there's a job fair that's being designed. PCC is taking the big lead on that, but the Alliance, the county, NC Works, the Pitt County SHRM, and other people are trying to do this career fair because we are hearing there are dozens and hundreds, actually, of jobs out there in manufacturing, in healthcare, and this is a way to hopefully, if we can hold it, and we're hoping that we can at the convention center, to bring job seekers with these job opportunities. People will be able to bring their resumes. They'll be able to learn about these jobs. We can create awareness for all these jobs that are right here in their backyard, in our backyard, and hopefully connect some people and even skill sets, because PCC is going to be there, ECU is going to be there talking about programs and training that can get people into these jobs. And then we have some other engagement and outreach, which again, we're trying to promote and amplify and reach all the things and all the people that we need to understand the economic, social, and whatever needs of Pitt County, and then pull in the partners and the relationships that will make that work. So we look forward to working with you. We know we have an upcoming workshop with you. You know, all these things, marketing, recruitment, business retention expansion, workforce development, entrepreneurship, they're all the cornerstones of economic development. We want you to help us develop our strategic plan going forward, and we're working on that now. We'll work with you in the workshop. We've got a lot of assets and things that we can be proud of, a lot of things that we can pull together and really amplify our economic development efforts in Pitt County. So we're looking forward to working with you on that. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Kelly. Do we have any questions for?
What is Emerald
Loop?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
What is Emerald Loop?
Emerald Loop is through the Greenville Arts Council and Emerge, and it's a placemaking effort. It's combining arts and getting people. It's transportation. There might be trolleys involved. It's a whole effort to get people in the uptown area and moving around and patronizing companies and businesses in the uptown area. But it's also making it a better looking place. But it is through the Pitt County Arts Council and Emerge. So we are supporting that. It's got a lot of support behind it, and for the city center, and you know, that's just one of many projects that we work on, but just an example.
In Greenville.
In Greenville, yes.
Okay. Seeing no other
Thank you.
hands. Thank you, Helen. We'll now move to the next item, the Public Health Director update on COVID-19. Dr. Silver.
Evening, Madam Chair.
Good
evening,
evening.
Commissioners. Good evening, people out there on TV. Want to run through some COVID information for you tonight. Start out with our Pitt County data. Delta continues to dominate the sampling sequencing in the region. For the past 3 weeks, this has been the only viral variant that's been isolated in the sampling. They don't sample or sequence every sample. And the sequencing varies from week to week, but Delta is 100% of what's been sequenced the past 3 weeks. In our region, or in our county, you've seen this graph before. Just to point out at you, the blue are folks who don't live in congregate living settings. The orange or salmon color is in congregate living settings. You see in June, we'd come down off of our spring wave. This is all Delta to the far right. There was a little bit of a drop off in cases, but then schools opened and the university started classes and we went back up. The one thing that you'll see is after vaccinations were complete, cases fell off dramatically in the nursing home or group home settings. A little bit of activity here. We've had a few scattered cases amongst unvaccinated employees and unvaccinated new admissions to nursing homes, but the vast majority of these cases have been eliminated since vaccination was completed in the nursing homes. Next slide shows our epidemic curve by age. You can see again that nadir in the week of June 19th. Since that time, we've seen significant growth in our 0 to 17. That's this yellowish color. Growth in our 18 to 24, our college and graduate school students. And then the red has remained a pretty prominent. This is generally where the bulk of cases have been throughout the epidemic. Those are our young adult workers, the 25 to 49-year-old age group. And then we've seen some in the 50 to 64-year-old age group, a little bit less in this past week's surveillance. So I think that's good news for that age group anyways.
Dr. Silver, we're going to ask you to speak up some because we have some people on the phones. And
yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'll get on the mic. I forget that the barrier is here, and
yes.
I'll stay on the mic, ma'am.
Okay.
This is the epidemic curve by race and ethnicity. Red represents African Americans. And actually, a bit of good news in this, that even with increasing cases, we've actually seen a little bit of a drop off in African American cases by race and ethnicity. I was talking with my CD coordinator today. This sort of teal color represents other. We're not sure what that means from the state standpoint, why there's so much other in this bar. So we were asking the state for clarification on that. The purple or lavender color represents Hispanics or Latinos. This sort of slate blue color represents Caucasians or whites. This is testing in Pitt County. You can see throughout the course of the epidemic, at the height in January, we were doing well over 9,000 tests. Last week we did over 8,000 tests here, probably pushing 9,000 tests that week. Our percent positivity has been stable between about 11.5 and just over 12 for going on a week now. So that's a good sign, but still much higher than we would like to see in our returning test values. This is a scorecard that I normally show you. This is last month's. I try to give this to you so you have a point of comparison. So this was at the last board meeting in August. We had a little over 1,000 cases for the previous 14 days, about 5.5 cases per 1,000. About 12% of our population had been infected. About 95% of our cases were recovered. Our fatalities, you'll see, have gone up significantly since last month. Our case fatality rate was at 0.4%. Testing was at 14.4. With the original strain, we feel that there are probably 2.5 cases for every case we can count. With Delta, there are estimates that could be as high as 6 or 7 cases that we can't count for every case that we do count. So I haven't shown that, but I've shown the 2.5 calculation. These are our numbers as of today. So over the last 14 days, 1,147 cases. That's down. Was down on Friday from Thursday, was down again today. We reliably see a little bit of a bump on Tuesdays with catching up from weekends with testing that comes in from the weekend and the first day of the week. That's about 82 cases a day. Going back to earlier last week, we were over 120 cases a day. So we've come down in our cases. Our cases per 1,000, we're still at 6.2. At one point, we were over 10 cases per 1,000 in the county. I think that's an easier number to understand. We've added, in terms of total case numbers, a little over 2% since last month. We're at 14.3% of our population that we know to have been infected at some point with COVID-19. And we would estimate our recovered today at 25,100, which is about 95.2% of our cases would meet the criteria of recovery at this time. Since last month, we have added 33 fatalities since last month. And you can see a clustering of these that all start with the Delta wave. We had gone from, I think it was May 4th, without a case fatality. And then when we look at the after June 19th, which is where Delta started to creep in, we saw case fatalities go up. And I know my CD supervisor has a few more that she was processing from the weekend that aren't in that count yet. So we will see that go up. We are still well below many smaller counties in the state with the number of fatalities that we've experienced. And our case fatality rate is still at the lower end of the range that it's been at 0.5 across all cases. I have not calculated a separate fatality rate for Delta as of this time. And our case, as I said, our case positivity or test positivity is at 11.8% and really flat. When you look at the state curve, that positivity has been flat for several days now.
Could I ask a question? The fatalities, the 129 are Pitt County residents, not just people who have passed away with COVID that maybe were at the hospital or.
That's correct, Commissioner Ward. Those are cases.
And I figured that was so, but I wasn't real sure whether everybody understood that or not.
Cases and fatalities are attributed to the county of residence. We do sometimes, it's one of the reasons that we are sometimes a little slow to process because many times the hospital will send them to us since the hospital is in Pitt County. We also find sometimes people have more than one address. And then it's incumbent upon us to determine what is their primary residence in order to attribute that case to the right jurisdiction from a statistical analysis standpoint. So, but yes, those cases and fatalities represent Pitt County I can't speak today.
Residents.
Pitt County residents, I'm sorry. It's been a long 20 months. Testing in the county. Pitt County Schools has received funding to support a vendor-provided testing service at the school. This may not be on all 38 campuses, but it will be on a number of the Pitt County school campuses. Dr. Lanker and his team are working to get this set up. I have requested a vendor testing site for Pitt County from the State Department of Health and Human Services. This appears to be very likely at this time, although we don't have a start date yet. We had a kind of a kickoff meeting with the vendor last week, have a follow-up meeting tomorrow, and anticipate in the next couple of weeks that should be up and running here in Pitt County. We also provided 2 bulk testing clinics at the Crossroads Community Shelter after a case was identified there. Fortunately, we only identified 1 more case, so we're able to get that case isolated and had no additional spread in the shelter. So that was good news for everybody. Move on, talk about vaccinations. In the county as of today, 93,180 residents, or 52% of the county, has received at least 1 dose. 85,908 residents, or 48% of the county, is considered fully vaccinated. So I think those numbers are good. They continue to creep up. They creep up slowly, but they continue to creep up. Vaccinations, we continue to offer vaccines daily at the health department. We have been kind of the Moderna hub for the county. Occasionally we have some Johnson & Johnson or Janssen vaccine. We offer appointments, and we do vaccines by walk-in as well. We've run, I think now, 2 clinics at the Piggly Wiggly in West Greenville, the Dickinson Avenue store. We set that up to run 4 weeks in a row so that hopefully people tend to shop similar days. The idea being that if somebody saw us the first week and was hesitant, maybe when they came back and saw us the second time, they might be willing to accept vaccine. We also have staff booked to be at the Pitt County Fair from Tuesday through Sunday to offer vaccines at the county fair. And that's the end of my prepared remarks.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
Dr. Sivanel, do you keep statistics by the site when you have those different ones, like how many was vaccinated at Pitt?
We do. We try to track that. I don't always have those numbers in my head, but we do.
I was just wondering if you keep statistics.
Mm-hmm.
My next question is, how are the deaths by the coronavirus, the COVID virus, or Delta determined?
What is the surveillance definition?
How do you determine a death? Does the mortician declare that they died by COVID or coronavirus or Delta or whatever? The residents.
The surveillance definition would be that the individual had a positive COVID test. That could be either a PCR test or an antigen test, that they had a syndrome compatible with COVID, that there was no other obvious cause of death, and that there was no period of recovery between the diagnosis of COVID and the death.
Is the mortician, what you call it? Got it.
The medical examiner,
yeah.
Commissioner. Some of the cases are referred to the medical examiner. Most of these are diagnosed by the treating physician. So one of the deaths that I looked at today, the physician put hypoxemic respiratory failure from COVID pneumonia. I think that speaks for itself. So that's a COVID death. There was a positive test. There was a syndrome compatible with COVID, and there was no period of recovery.
So it's mostly determined by the attending physician that they go to, and not the county mortician or not mortician.
Most of these, if the treating physician is willing to certify the cause of death, then generally they do not go to the medical examiner. If the treating physician does not know the cause of death or is unwilling to certify the death, then that may go to the medical examiner for certification.
Okay. Because I've gotten a question again about if the mortician determines the cause of death, well, how do you know that they died from COVID? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Sibley.
Okay, thank you, folks.
I believe we have Sam Croom going to give us the August tax collection report via Zoom.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Manager Elliott. Tonight I bring you the August
Sam, we
2021
can't
tax collection
hold on
report.
just, you're very, very faint. The PA staff maybe try to turn your volume up.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Tonight I bring you the August 2021 tax collection report. The Pitt County fiscal year to date, July 1, 2021 through August 31st, 2021 combined collection rate for real and personal property is 66.98%. The combined rate 1 year ago for real and personal property was 61.34%. Pitt County Tax Administration continues to pursue all outstanding taxes using the necessary remedies available through the North Carolina General Statutes. It's my recommendation for the board to approve the August 2021 tax collection report as presented.
Move approval.
Second it.
It's been moved in second that we approve the August 21 tax report. You ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chair Fitzpatrick, Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick, Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
He has his mic muted.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
I think you'll be assumed to vote with majority unless the county attorney says differently.
That's correct. He would just be assumed to count with the majority.
motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next item is the Conservation Farm Family and Year winner for North Carolina. Mr. Manager.
Yes, we have PJ Andrews here with our Director of Pitt County Soil and Water Conservation. He's going to introduce this and tell us about this great recognition that a farm in Pitt County has received.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Manager, Chairman Huggins, and members of the board.
Good evening.
I'm coming to you tonight very excited. Hear me good. Very excited and very proud to present that S&S Farms and Home Place Strawberries and More, which is located right outside of Farmville, was awarded the 2021 Conservation Farm Family of the Year for the state of North Carolina. And you may ask, what does this mean? Mr. Steve Sutton and Judy Sutton's operations were judged on several criterias. Just to name a few, conservation activities, which is environmentally safe practices, stewardship, management of the land, community leadership within local boards and other church activities, education, agriculture education, and agritourism, and conservation knowledge. To give you a few stats about their farm, they farm around 2,500 acres of row crops. They have almost 1.5 acres of strawberries. They have 3.3 million chickens, almost 500,000 tilapia, which is an aquaculture operation here right in Pitt County, that produces over 700,000 pounds of fish a year. A celebration will be had on the farm in the spring, of which many of you will be invited to. Dawn, our wonderful public information officer, will get a press release out this week that will all be emailed to you with the full video that was done on the farm. And I've often heard from many farmers in the agriculture industry, especially here in Pitt County, that you go to the doctor maybe once, maybe twice a year, but you eat 3 times a day. So agriculture is very important in Pitt County. It is our #1 economic driver. So I'm very excited to announce that. And once again, Mr. Manager and members of the board, thank you for letting me have a few minutes to announce this wonderful award and this very well-deserving farm family here in Pitt County.
Well, thank you. We are very, very proud and to have that recognition for that family. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, we have a brief video to show, like a 30-second video. There's also a companion 5-minute video that we're going to be playing on Channel 13 and have posted on the our website, as well as we'll email you the link so you can watch it. But if Dawn can come out and let's play the 30-second video.
Okay, yes.
Farm was started in 1952 when my grandfather moved from Greene County to Pitt County. And one of the challenges and one of the responsibilities that we all have is preserving agriculture for our family, for our county, for our state, for our country.
Thank you
Again,
very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we're at the manager's report. Mr. Manager.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So next meeting dates, the fourth Monday in September will be September 27th, and then your next meeting for the month of October will be October 18th. I believe October we only have one meeting that month. Next, I'd like to ask Chad Singleton to come to the podium. We'd like to introduce him as our new Pitt County Animal Services Program Manager. Chad should be a very familiar face around Pitt County. He's has over 20 years tenure with Pitt County government and was in leadership and administration at the detention center. And he is now directing our animal services program. Chad, do you want to say any comments?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. It's my pleasure to be here tonight as your newly appointed Animal Services Director. I'm looking forward to working with each of you in the upcoming years to offer the best protection for our citizens as well as our furry animals. And don't forget to come see me for your animal adoption needs.
Okay. Congratulations. We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Chad also has the task of overseeing the phases 2, 3, and 4, the renovation phases of the animal shelter project, which is well underway now, and hopefully will be done when?
Looking at a January date, completion date, about the middle of January.
So we're gonna have quite the facility. I'm sure we'll have a ribbon cutting and recognition ceremony.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we can ask Karina DeRoche to come forward as well. I'd like to introduce Karina. Karina is our new community relations coordinator, and in her role as community relations coordinator, she'll be primarily serving the Human Relations Commission. We went through several rounds of advertising and interviewing, and was lucky enough to identify and find Karina. We'd like to welcome her, and she started last week, so she's in week 2, and maybe give her a moment to say a word or two.
I just wanted to say, Madam Chair and members of the board, that I am excited to be elected as the Community Relations Coordinator, and I really look forward to working with each one of you and hitting the ground running. Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Had one other item not on the agenda. Just wanted to make a brief remarks about, even though I was unable to attend the 9/11 ceremony in Bethel this past weekend, Mike Taylor was there in my stead. Chairwoman was there and spoke, and the county was presented with a plaque, which I'd like to show, and then maybe give the chairwoman if you want to make any comments about the ceremony or not. Either way. This is the plaque. This is the plaque that Pitt County was presented. It says at the top, Green Lamp recognizes first responders for their dedication and commitment to the Pitt County community, presented September 11th, 2021. It was the 9/11 day of service. And I'm not going to read all of these entries on here, but everything from the police departments, fire departments, EMS, emergency management, 911, just they tried to recognize each and every entity that had a hand in the 9/11 day. So.
I accepted this plaque on behalf of all of these departments or fire departments and EMS and all of that. It was a very nice program that was hosted by the town of Bethel, along with the Green Lamp Community Action 9/11 program. So it was very nice. So it was an honor to accept that plaque on behalf of all of the fire departments and EMS and law enforcement for Pitt County. I'm hopeful that the manager will find a place to display this plaque. I don't know where he's going to find it, but that's what I said to the group. That we will find a place to display it so that people can see it. Thank you. So that finishes your
Yes,
Madam
Okay.
Chair, I move for acceptance of items for consent.
Second, Madam Chair.
Okay, it's been moved and second that the items for consent be approved as printed. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Vice Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next item on the next item on the agenda is the amendment to the law enforcement ordinance number 4. Attorney Gallagher.
Good evening. I apologize, I'm meeting with you remotely this evening, but on page 88 of your packet is a copy of our current existing law enforcement ordinance number 4, as well as a proposed ordinance based upon some preliminary conversations about how you might want to change that. This is an item for your discussion, and if the board chooses to modify its existing ordinance, I would recommend that you schedule a public hearing.
So in effect, the proposed language based
Please,
upon,
Mike.
I'm sorry,
That's okay.
the proposed language based upon board input would prohibit handguns in any room in which the Pitt County Board of Commissioners would be meeting. So whether in this room, or the Ag Center, EOC, if you're off, well, I guess any Pitt County building that you regulate. Otherwise,
That's correct. And currently deadly weapons are prohibited in all Pitt County office buildings, except for those who are lawfully permitted to carry concealed. And so what this proposed change does in section G would be to prevent concealed carry in any Board of Commissioners meeting room.
Anywhere,
pardon me,
anywhere, right?
just in any room in which the Pitt County Board of Commissioners are
That's
meeting.
what I mean, anywhere that they're meeting.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I also make a motion to adopt that.
I second that, which means we would also say we're in favor of a public hearing.
Correct. We would recommend that.
Okay.
Okay. It's been moved and second that we accept the presented ordinance for law enforcement. Are you ready for the question?
And
What is the question?
public-
What is the question? I'm sorry. This is for the public hearing?
And set up a public hearing.
Well, and if I may, you cannot adopt, I would recommend that you not adopt any changes until after the public hearing. So you would schedule your action this evening would be to schedule your public hearing on the proposed revision. And then once you have that public hearing, the board would then vote up or down or modify that proposed revision.
And for clarity, it's that one sentence that's on page 92 that's been underlined is what we're proposing would be added.
Correct. That's the only change to the ordinance.
Okay. So tonight we're just accepting this proposed and to schedule a public hearing.
Correct. At the conclusion of which the board could vote this proposed amendment up or down.
Oh, okay. All right.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Coast.
It confounds me that the safest people in the entire population are prohibited for coming in here. Do you not think that they have our names and addresses and phones, and they can get you at the house if we're so worried about this? Obviously, I'm going to vote no.
Commissioner White, were you about to say something?
Yes, I don't believe in changing the ordinance. I think that we should leave it just as it is, where people can still carry concealed on county property, like it's been for how many years now. But I guess my question for Janice is, I do not want to support changing the ordinance to ban concealed carry, but I do think that if there is going to be a change, that there definitely needs to be a public hearing. So is it going to be two separate motions or what?
So it would be one motion to bring the proposed amendment to a public hearing. That does not act to change the ordinance in any way. It takes the proposed amendment and gives the public an opportunity to comment on it. Once that public hearing happens, following that public hearing, the board will have an opportunity to either adopt or not adopt the proposed amendment. Since it's an ordinance change, if it's not adopted unanimously, it may then need a second reading.
Okay, thank you.
So what we have on the floor now is a motion to bring it to a public hearing. And is that your motion, Commissioner Mclaughlin?
Yes, but a point of clarification. I don't think, and Janice helped me on this, I don't think that we need to have firearms on any location in the county, on county property. Now, I thought I understood that motion, that the ordinance is like that now. No firearms should be on county property in terms of concealed weapon. Now, am I right about that?
No, currently your ordinance prohibits open carried firearms on any county buildings, and it allows concealed carry weapons in all county facilities, except for those that are excluded, like schools or the courthouse. The proposal would keep in place the prohibition of all open carry weapons in all county facilities, but it would limit concealed carry to areas where the Board of Commissioners are not meeting.
That's my motion.
Yes, but then we used to, Janice, have a ordinance that we did not have concealed weapons on any county property.
That's what it used to be before the most recent change. Yes.
I'd like to see it go back to that. I don't think we need to have any weapon on any county property. That's my concern.
And in order to do that, then you would expand the proposed change on page 92 to strike all of paragraph G, rather than keep paragraph G. And paragraph G is what was added when the Board of Commissioners in a prior year allowed concealed carry in county office buildings.
How long
So
is
your
that?
choices are, if you want to limit it so that there's no concealed carry in the rooms where the Board of Commissioners meet, then that's the underlying proposal on page 92. If you wanted to eliminate concealed carry in any of the county properties, then you would eliminate paragraph G in its entirety.
So the question was, Madam Chairman, was raised, when was this originally adopted? Looks like January of 1996. Then we amended it in December of 2015, probably to include paragraph G.
That's exactly right. From 1996 until 2015, there were no weapons permitted on county property, open or concealed. In 2015, the board carved out an exception to allow concealed carry permit holders to have their weapons in county buildings. And they did that by including paragraph G.
Commissioner Nunley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Attorney, if there were a want to consider the narrow carve out for concealed carry or a total strike of subsection G, would we need to make that determination prior to setting the public hearing, or are we allowed to consider both following the setting of and hearing the public hearing?
So what you would need to do tonight is give enough direction for the public to know what your intent was, so that they would know what to comment on when they came for their public hearing. You could leave two options available this evening. You could say the Board of Commissioners is intending to modify ordinance number 4 by either adding the language in the last sentence or completely striking paragraph G, and we're seeking public comment on those two options. And then you can make a decision as to one of those two. What you don't want to do is notice the public of a proposed change and then have a public hearing and then do something different than what the public has been noticed about. But you can certainly notice two alternatives.
So, Madam Chair, I guess my statement would be that if Commissioner Mclaughlin's wanted to consider a broader consideration of striking G, and the other commissioners wanted to consider the narrow strike of the or addition of the language on G, that it would be prudent for this body to consider both of those alternatives as we move it forward to public hearing.
Should we consider them separately?
I don't think you need to. And if you want to be the most comprehensive in your notice, you can say the Board of County Commissioners will consider at this public hearing whether to keep the ordinance exactly the way it is, to modify paragraph G to limit concealed carry in commissioners' meeting rooms, or to strike paragraph G altogether. Then you'll have an opportunity for the public, if they choose to comment, to let you know what they think about it. And then those would be your three options, given that some commissioners have expressed an interest in not wanting to change it at all.
Okay. And Madam Chair, if it's in order, and if Commissioner Mclaughlin's in agreement with that modification, I move that we set the public hearing with those three alternatives publicized to the public for consideration as a, I guess, a modified motion, or if he's okay with accepting that motion and that change, I'm fine with that. But
I certainly would accept that change for the public hearing.
And then we could consider all three of those alternatives following the public hearing.
I believe that will give you the greatest flexibility following the public hearing.
Okay. Um,
And I accept that as my second also.
Okay, all right. So it's been moved and seconded that we accept the motion to modify the ordinance number 4 and have a public hearing. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
No.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
No.
Commissioner Mclaughlin.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
No.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-3.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to the second item, and that is the Confederate Monument Relocation Committee. Mr. Manager.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So the chairwoman has asked that this item be placed on the agenda, and she is requesting that the Confederate Monument Committee be disbanded since it rendered its original recommendation is no longer needed. So this is on the agenda for discussion purposes and or action if the board were to so choose.
Commissioner
And Madam Chair, when I saw this on the agenda, I thought it was probably best that we had handled this following the committee rendering its opinion charge to our commission. However, seeing as how it's kind of lingered, I would move now that we disband it until such time that the chair or this commission deems it necessary to set up another commission. So I would move at this time to disband that relocation committee as no longer necessary, having already rendered its report.
I second it.
I have comments.
Okay.
I have comments.
Okay, Commissioner Albright.
Yeah, I disagree that the committee is no longer needed. I don't know that it has given us a decision that we have accepted. It still seems an open question to me. I've heard from the good folks of Chicad that seem to have been blindsided by all of this, and I don't think that I could now support moving that monument to its original location anyway. It seems to me that this committee has lots of work still to do, that the monument itself is still a very controversial idea as well as an object in our community, and it's not something to just say they made their recommendation, which we didn't accept, and it's not gone forward. So anyway, I would vote against disbanding this committee and hope that the committee could re-meet again as we announced at our last meeting, and that they could come back to us with a recommendation to disband or a recommendation to move the soldier somewhere or something, that we would not step in and disband the committee at this point.
Commissioner.
Madam Chair, thank you. Respectfully, and while I understand that the issue is not settled, I hope that the motion is not mistaken here for a want to avoid the question. Since the rendering of the opinion of that committee, we have formed the Human Relations Council. We have formed different groups and different ideas about where, and other groups have come forward to express some additional concerns. So it's not disbanding for want of not addressing, but it is for want of ensuring that as we move forward to address it, that the composition of that committee fits our current structure as best able to, I guess, address those questions. I would just argue that our ability to answer those questions through perhaps some of the other committees that we formed to address civil rights and continued reconciliation efforts in our county, that we are best situated to disband that historic commission and then, if necessary, reappoint one with a different composition.
Commissioner Colson, and then Commissioner Mclaughlin, and then Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Well, I do not believe we should disband it. I think you will be giving fodder to the very people that have come up here and have argued at the beginning of the meetings. You will be telling them in no certain terms, I mean, because it's left vague. If you say, well, we might come back sometime in the future and reconvene it with a new membership, I think it's a mistake. It's not a finalized question. I think the group was a good group. Right now is the thing that's holding it up is waiting for the Supreme Court to make a ruling. And at that time, once the ruling's made, I think it'll solve it, answer it one way or the other. And so doing away with it, I just think it's a big mistake, and you're going to be paying for it, or we, the board, are going to be paying for it, with a lot of people thinking that here we are trying to be sneaky about this. Further, I do not believe that the Human Relations Council is the proper body to resolve this issue. So I guess it's headed that way from what I'm understanding from the comments made. But I think you're setting up a conflict that's going to be ugly.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
As a past chairman of that committee, we had a group of people that was from the community, and we discussed this, and it was unanimously agreed upon that this monument be placed at a specific location. Now, the staff, Pitt County staff, was going to look into the legalities of this, and which they did. And it's in the process now of being technically looked into and find out, and I want Scott Elliott to comment on this, to find out what other kind of means or technicalities that we have to go through in terms of fulfilling what the committee had selected unanimously where this statute to be placed. And at this time, if this does not span out to our recommendation, it's my understanding that staff then will find some other suitable location to have this monument placed and bring that back to the commissioners. Now, Scott, if I'm wrong, and you correct me, but that is my understanding. And could you make a comment in reference to that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the committee did render a recommendation to place it in Southern Pitt County, and the Board of Commissioners had tried moving along with that. The property owner initially had said that he was willing to accept it, but now I think is wanting to wait until the lawsuit is settled at maybe the North Carolina Supreme Court level. I do want to say that there was never an understanding that this would fall back into the lap of staff to then, if that option became null and void for staff to make a recommendation on this. I would recommend, we announced at the last meeting that the committee would reconvene. We contacted the committee, we set a date, we set a time, we had to pull back on it to discuss it tonight. I'd recommend you fulfill the commitment to at least let the committee meet one more time, render a report, and then if their task is done and over, disband it. But I would recommend to follow through with what you originally said, what was originally announced on August 23rd.
Before I'll make a comment. Perkins Williams first.
I'm
sorry.
Am I still?
Yes.
Am I still speaking?
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. Well, Scott, I just want to just say, as far as the committee was concerned, we made our recommendation. Now, if that recommendation falls through, we, at least many of the staff, committee members, was under the impression that the staff would bring back another recommendation to the commissioners, and then we will follow that through. That is my concern. I don't think we have any the committee as we had it are finished with their duties. We discharge it.
If I can
That's all I
respond
have to say about that.
Okay, go ahead. I was going to say, I don't think I don't think it would be fair, as controversial as this topic is, that if the committee was disbanded and staff would be charged with trying to figure out what to do with that monument. I really think either you need to try to follow through with the original recommendation if that can come to fruition, or have an appointed body of some sort, such as a Confederate Monument Committee, come up with the recommendations, because this is a no-win proposition to where it goes.
Well, that was my statement, and I just made that so. You, Madam Chair, you can have further discussion on it, but I wanted to run none of that for the record.
Okay, Commissioner Perkins Williams, and then Nunley, and then I will speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the very summary of the information, which is the charge of that committee, at the board's June 15, 2020 meeting, the board unanimously approved creating a committee to determine the relocation of the Confederate monument. There should be a decision from this board as to where it's to go. I do not agree that this committee should be disbanded, Madam Chairman. It should be a solution coming from this committee to determine where that monument is to be. I do not think, and I agree with my colleague to my left. I think both of you all agree that the committee should not be, what you say, disbanded. I agree. It should not be disbanded. And secondly, I do not believe that this board should rely and put this weight on the staff. I think it is a commissioner's responsibility to handle business for this county residents. So therefore, this committee should act and respond to its charge and come up with a recommendation for it. That's my opinion.
Commissioner Nunley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And in the discussion, when I made my initial motion, in my eyes, it's mainly procedural. The former chair, I believe this commission charged the former chair with appointing that committee. Since that time, we've elected a new chair. At the time we set that committee, we didn't, I guess, set a time for when membership of that committee would turn over. And I guess the thought of disbanding is not disbanding in the sense of abandoning, but more so, I guess, making things happen in a way that reflects our current board chair's wishes, an appointment authority to appoint boards and commissions. And if we wanted to, as a board, for instance, have a member of the Human Relations Commission represented on that board, short of disbanding and reappointing a commission, and maybe this is a question for Madam Attorney, would the current board chair have authority to appoint additional members on the current committee based on our action of, I guess, what was it, September? I guess
It was June 15th.
June 15th. So, I hear what Commissioner Colson and Mary Perkins Williams and Albright say, and in many ways, I think that it would be problematic if we make the situation worse by abandoning. But I don't think that we should take the commission as it was constituted at that time and ignore what we have, as a commission, have done to broaden the voices to be heard to this question. I think it would be a mistake to box out the Human Relations Council, whose whole part and purpose was to help inform this body on matters that directly concern racial reconciliation, human relation matters. And so my motion, I don't know if I'm prepared to withdraw it, but I would like to hear from our attorney as to whether or not the current chair would have authority to appoint additional members to that committee to perhaps make that committee more reflective of our current body's wants as it relates to those questions.
The answer to that would be yes. So this is an informal, more like a staff level committee that has been created to make a recommendation. It is not a formal body like your other boards and commissions where folks need to apply and the board votes on who's in that seat. And so the short answer to your question is yes. If the majority of the board wanted to keep the committee in place, it would be within the discretion of the chair to add additional members to that committee if she would like.
And could the chair also remove members from that committee?
With cause,
With
or with
cause.
agreement, or by agreement, sure.
Okay. With that said, Madam Attorney, I withdraw my motion to disband.
Well, now I have a question.
Let me just speak, because when I talked with the county manager about disbanding this committee, it wasn't that I was saying that there was no more work to be done. That was not what I was saying. But because we are at a point where there's nothing else to be done right now, that we would dismantle or disband the committee for the present time. Because with the recommendation that this committee brought forth, is now at a holding point, sort of. So that was why I said that, and then because of some of the members on that committee, that we feel that that it would not work out to a solution that would be a solution really for the monument for the county. So it was because of that thinking that I approached the county manager with the idea. Again, it was not that the work is finished. No, the work is not finished. But we're not doing anything. There's no other solutions. There are no other recommendations being made right now. So, and we're not having any more meetings. So that is why I made that suggestion.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Colson.
As a member on that board, I have absolutely no problem with a member of the Human Relations Council joining that group. What I had heard, it sounded like you wanted to move it or allow it to move to where the Human Relations Council in general took over the issue. We, the Board of Commissioners, created this mess. We need to stay in charge of it and not pass it off to somebody else. Okay, that's all.
And also, any decision that is made is going to come back to us, to the county commissioners. So the committee cannot decide where to place this monument. The committee can only make a recommendation to us
And it is our responsibility to decide yes or no to that recommendation.
So that is what I want you to understand.
Yes, Commissioner Perkins.
Madam Chairman, in fact, that this committee has been operating since June 15th, 2020. That's more than a year as of today. Any new person you've not put on that is not on this board would have to like be starting all over to hear the discussion. You have 4 commissioners on this board, some very profound uh, county residents. I think the board should remain as is. You should come back with a recommendation and you should do the charge. And just because you've not met, you have the power to meet. And there should have been some meetings. Because that was the charge that you were supposed to do, was meet and come up with the recommendation. So I really think any new people added would need to hear all the discussion that you heard in that other meeting. And it wouldn't be fair to new people to put them 1 year later. We've got a very good, competent response from the community, and this committee should function.
Well,
That's my opinion.
Well, Commissioner Perkins, we will, I will, as chair, decide when we will meet again and what the membership of that committee will look like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now move to.
Okay, I believe you withdrew
Yes,
your
Madam Chair.
motion.
I think Mel, didn't Mel make a recommendation? He got to withdraw too, doesn't he?
We'll now move to the third item, which is Board Commissioners Travel Policy. Mr. Manager, I believe that is really more about rotation.
Yes, ma'am. So the request was made to have the commissioners' travel policy put on the agenda. The policy was, looks like it was drafted in '99. It was revised in 2012. We had an economic downturn and the line item budget for board travel was being exceeded. So at that time, the board created a rotation schedule of which for out-of-state conferences only, nothing to do with in-state, but out-of-state conferences, a rotation schedule among the commissioners where you'd have 3 commissioners could attend a conference at a time. And we would basically, if we were starting from the top of the rotation schedule, we'd call commissioner in District 1, 2, and 3, ask them if they had an interest in attending a certain, say, a national conference of the National Association of Counties. If all 3 said yes, then 1, 2, and 3 went. If, say, District 1 said no, but 2 and 3 said yes, then we'd go to number 4 and ask them, would you like to go? Once we hit 3 commissioners through the rotation schedule, then that's how we've operated since 2012. I think there's been a request to, if there's any interest of any commissioner, whether one or all attend conferences, to possibly look at amending this rotation schedule to either strike it from the policy or amend it in some other way.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Manager Elliott. I did ask for this to be placed on the agenda for our consideration. Had the opportunity to represent Pitt County at our national conference. It was actually the first event since COVID, St. George's County in Maryland. We had very good representation with our other commissioners and our management staff. And it was really nice to meet and discuss and consider viewpoints from all the challenges, especially coming out of this COVID environment or walking through the COVID environment, how the various counties throughout the country have been handling it, and how different management staffs have been handling it. And, granted, that's a conference in the heart of a crisis, and you're talking about the implementation of numerous government programs. But what was perhaps most striking to me was how many leadership positions, how leadership positions are filled within the national organization requires that members attend on an annual basis so they get to know folks, because it's you don't just go and get appointed. You have to meet, make relationships, and then start to advance policies on various boards of commissions. And I thought that our policy of rotation, while it it does provide some cost savings, as an educator and as a lifelong learner, and also someone who wants to do my job the very best. And I hope that we all feel the same way, that when we're talking about national organizations and the opportunity for our elected leadership to better prepare themselves and better advance the interests of our community, then we ought not to structurally disincentivize travel that involves participation in those types of conferences. So simply, I just ask this board to consider that we do away with the rotation, and to allow travel to national conference for any board member that would like to attend. And I think that's assumed that anyone on this board that would attend would do so in a responsible manner, and be a good representative, and perhaps in years to come serve in leadership positions at the national level to advance causes that really will be impactful for our community through the national organization. So I just wanted to discuss that and hear how everyone else feels about it.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
When this was established, it was established when we were very low on funds, and back when, before this was established, if you wanted to go to a state or a national convention, it worked out because the money was available, and many of us either paid for our own travel or did our motel or hotel or whatever. Anyway, however it worked out. But I think this rotation is just not needed anymore. And when these opportunities come up, those who would like to go put their hats in the pot, and we, at that time we can decide about the money that's available, and if we can send them all, or if we can just send half or whatever. Does that make sense?
Okay, that's your
Because that was
comment.
kind of how we did it before, and it worked fine for many, many years.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yes, I had one.
Okay.
I think I'm the only one on this board who's been voted against going to those national meetings. I didn't come to this board knowing how the county commissioner worked. I came to this board wanting to learn and educate myself to do the best that I can for the citizens of Pitt County. And I don't know anyone else who has voted against going to a national meeting other than myself.
I have.
Tom Colson has been on this board, and Beth Ward has been on this board, and Melvin has been on this board for a number of years. I did not. I came here wanting to know so that I can be educated and act appropriate as a commissioner and learn those things that I needed to know that be involved. Now, to talk about the rotation, I don't know anybody. I did not receive an education. Did you get a note as to what the rotation was? Did you get a note about the travel policy? The only thing I received was a Pitt County board policy, and that did not have these items in it. There needs to be some better process to handle this information.
Well, I
Because I
believe,
surely didn't like being the only one always singing out, and I got voted against. You didn't want me educated.
Madam Chair,
yes, Commissioner Colson.
Scott and Brian, this is really more directed to you. Let's say we have it to where it's carte blanche, anybody go anytime that they want. What happens when there's a meeting in Hawaii, like there was some years ago, and all commissioners and 2 or 3 staff want to go to Hawaii? What's that do to the budget? And that's a rhetorical question. You don't really need to answer it. The question is, do we need to establish some kind of capping mechanism to where we don't spend more than a certain amount? And I don't know what that number is. I'm just posing a question.
Well, you have a capping mechanism within the governing body's departmental budget. There's a line item for travel, which I think it's about 30,000, if I recall, Brian. You may not know that off the top of your head.
Yeah, I don't know the number off the top of my head.
I think it's 30.
But to address your question, though, I will tell you that typically your national conferences are set years in advance. So it would be prudent on us as we go through the budget process each spring to look at the upcoming events and conferences and to plan out. And I came from a jurisdiction where it wasn't 9 board members, but we had 7. And we did prepare as if all 7 were to go. And we just looked at the travel for the upcoming year, and we planned and budgeted. And at times that board did reduce their own travel budget as needed based on the economic situation. So if you do adjust your board policy tonight, you would always have the opportunity during the budget process to take a look at that budget and reduce it as needed based on the economics of the time.
Well, I can see that if in fact we do that.
That makes good sense. Commissioner Nunley, I believe you had your hand up. Can you change it? Okay. I believe what we have before us is to change the policy where we would not have a rotation. And we could do as Brian just said, during budget time, could plan for all commissioners to go if they wish to go, plan it in the budget, knowing that more than likely all will not go. But you have an opportunity to go if you like to go. So that is your reason for putting this in on the agenda. Is that correct?
That is correct. And Madam Chair, I think Commissioner Perkins Williams makes a good point. I think that the effect of, and that's why I used the word disincentivize earlier, having the rotation puts one of the board members in a position, if they're not in the rotation, of having to come ask the rest of the board if they can go.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's, structurally not conducive to good team building. Because you get in a situation where you might have misread intentions. And if it really is just a budgetary decision that we as a board, as a team, decide that we cannot send folks for a particular year, then that's a team decision, and it's not just a policy decision. So yeah, I would move that we change the policy as described, and so that we plan that there's an allowance for all of the commissioners to travel to national conference, and we just do it on a budgetary year basis.
Second.
Did you second?
I second that, please.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we change our travel policy, that it would no longer have the rotation system. Manager?
Yes, so can we, after you vote on this, can we bring this back on the 27th? We'll bring back the revised language, then you can officially vote for the that language.
Okay. So, you ready for the?
Yes.
Vote? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Mclaughlin.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
No.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-1.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to items for decision. First one being the project ordinance, the American Rescue Plan funding. Brian?
Good evening, Madam Chair and Board of Commissioners. This is a follow-up to our last meeting on 8/23. We're moving forward with our American Rescue Plan funding. Just to give you all a recap of our last meeting, you all kind of set what we call our 7 cost centers of broadband connectivity, community health, employee safety and health, housing and homelessness, business and employment assistance, our water, sewer, stormwater infrastructure, and our ARP administration and contingency. Those are our big buckets, as you may want to call them, that we were going to look at bringing back requests as we move through this process up until December 31st of 2024. Also, at our last meeting, we talked about moving forward with from a budgetary standpoint of looking to set a budget for our PPE and equipment, our facility upgrades, our essential staff and vaccine initiative, our ARP funding administration, and a broadband. And we were looking at it at the budget level. We have provided for you a copy of some projects that we have deliberated on internally as staff that have brought us to these budgetary levels. But this would give us some flexibility within those budgets to move money around as needed. And as ideas come up, we could bring them back to you and would not have to necessarily look at changing the budget. Also, at our last meeting, you all did provide us quite a bit of feedback. We talked about some regional partnerships. We were looking at transportation. We were looking at some type of transformational or large-scale investment. There's been feedback at looking at addressing the court backlog and small business assistance. We have looked at some of this internally, and it's still part of our ongoing staff committee process. So tonight, we do not have anything specifically addressing these, but we did want you all to know that this is something that we're taking quite serious and we're taking a look at. What I do want to point out there in bold, part of the reason we haven't really moved, but so far on some of your feedback, is that we are still waiting from official guidance from Treasury on what the guidelines are going to look like. They have given us an interim, and then they came out with more guidelines, but they have not put anything in stone quite yet beyond your standard COVID-related expenses. So obviously what we don't want to do is get too far down the road and then Treasury strikes it, and then we're back at square one. So we're still looking at this stuff internally, and everybody's waiting on Treasury, so it's just not us as we move forward. But what we do want to move forward with, and this is a procedural step, this is something that I'd recommend us looking at, is a project ordinance. The project ordinance allows us to actually spend the money. Right now, we do not have statutory authority to spend the money that's sitting in the bank until we establish a overall budget ordinance for it. This would allow us the opportunity to spend the money. It would also allow us not to have to do this every fiscal year because it runs the length of the project. So as the project concludes technically at December of 2026, that is when the ordinance itself would end. So this gives us the opportunity to not have to do this step every meeting. But what we are proposing to do is, as we come forward with requests, is to bring those back to your attention and for you all to approve those before we actually start any spending. So you still will have an opportunity to vote on any project that we bring to you, but just from a budgetary standpoint, this allows us to go ahead and actually start spending. And you should have had a copy of the ordinance. It's very basic. It just sets it at the expense and revenue level, which again gives us greater flexibility if we need to move money around. We will have to amend it next May as we get the second half of our funding. But from a budget standpoint, once we do this, it's pretty much locked in unless you all change it. So what we do want to move forward for is the budget ordinance itself, and then those, I don't know if you want to call it first wave or round one type expenses that we do know that Treasury has blessed quite a bit that we want to go ahead and move forward with. Again, most of these are your standard COVID related. So we have our budget for our PPE and equipment of $1 million. We're looking at $3 million on some facility upgrades across our vast buildings within the county. We did come to you all last week on our essential pay for our premium pay for our employees. This is for full-time employees. This is $1,500 for each full-time employee that meets certain criteria that we've laid out as staff, which mirrors what Treasury has provided with guidance. This is also included in that $2 million budget is our vaccine incentive as part of the policy that was approved last week. There's some more vaccine-related expenses that we are considering with the committee that we're going to bring back at a further date that may tap into that amount of money. We do think it's very important to make sure that we hit all our federal guidelines, so we are asking for staff to help administer our art funding. I think we need somebody in our finance department, and also I think if we're going to move forward with some of our facility upgrades and some of our greater ticket, larger item investments, I do think our engineering staff is going to need some additional help to make sure that we can actually have the capacity to do some of our projects. And then lastly, we have set that budget for broadband at $6 million. This is one that's probably, I know Mike Taylor is following the state to see what's happening there, and also just to see statutorily where we have authority to actually make this spending. So what we're asking tonight is to proceed forward with these particular budgets within our greater project ordinance, and it will give us the ability to start actually spending the money. We still have the other half of the money left to actually receive, and we still have quite a bit from a committee to deliberate and bring back to you. So that's where we are as of now. Be glad to answer any questions.
Yes.
I have a question about the $6 million for broadband. Is that enough to cover the weakness areas in the county, such as Billboard and Falkland and Pactolis and Stokes and Fountain and Grifton and way out like that? Because you have to hold the phone a certain way and do all kinds of things in order to make certain kinds of connection. And your computer drops when the crowd and that sort of thing happens. That's just a question. And I was wondering, where is it in the county that the broadband problems are addressed, that needs to be addressed? Have you determined that? And the next thing I want to know, because we're living in a very low water table, and septic tanks are overflowing and flowing into, most of the people are buying their water. I still drink bottled water, and a lot of other people. So I think at some point that's a health issue, and that sort of thing. We need to look at water and septic throughout this county, because it is a problem having the septic tank overflow. And when the water table is high, you can't solve it without just cleaning it out, because the water just keep it pushing it up and gushing up out of the water and getting into the water tank. I can show you the environment. I can show you a house right now that has that issue, and it's in a subdivision. So I'm very concerned about the families in that area that have that problem. So since we're looking at problems and we have whatever, I don't know how you do it because I'm not budgetary, but I'm telling you, these are the things that are serious enough to be addressed, because we can't change our water table out there. Thank you.
Commissioner Perkins-Williams, let me try to address the three things you brought up. On the $6 million for broadband, I guess maybe prior to COVID, the state of North Carolina had put out some what they called great grants. I think they had $20 million in a pot of money for the entire state. We were working with some vendors to deploy broadband in certain targeted areas of Pitt County. I believe the northern and maybe the southern part of Pitt County. That kind of got put on hold because of COVID. I will say that $6 million, at that point in time, we were looking at a microwave solution of compared to what they call dark fiber. Dark fiber is the wire that's buried in the ground that provides broadband service, which is much more expensive. I will say the state of North Carolina has gone from a pot of 20 million to, is it 800 million, Mike? 20 million to 800, over $800 million to distribute statewide to deploy broadband in underserved and unserved areas. So our original $6 million figure, I would hope that we're not going to need all that 6 million, that we'd only need a portion of it, and we could use that other portion for other needs that you may act on as you move forward, and that we will be able to pull down through the state, because you've got out of the American Rescue Plan dollars, you have the funds passing from the feds to the state. The state has got this big pot of money that we can then leverage against our pot of money. So we're very optimistic that we're going to be able to do a lot of work with broadband. We're still waiting for the rules of that to come forth. I don't believe even the funding portal has been developed or launched for that, but that is on our radar. And so in terms of the problem areas, yes, this would definitely target the problem areas. I'd like to say, I would think, and Mike, you can correct me, we would hopefully address the far majority of the underserved, and he's coming up, the underserved and or unserved portions of Pitt County. I'll let him qualify that.
So based on our earlier discussions last year, when we did an actual RFP for this, it would be to identify and cover all of Pitt County, north, south, east, and west. And it's a fixed wireless solution like the manager was talking about, which provides the bandwidth to address those individual needs. And as you mentioned, the other thing that there are funds, and what we're waiting for is the state to adopt a budget, is the affordability piece. So there's the accessibility piece, and then there's the affordability piece. And so there are funds included in that, I think it's 1.2 total billion as far as the state funds. So part of that will be to help make the access to broadband affordable, and then to extend the coverage area in partnering with our business partners. So that's kind of what we're waiting on. To the manager's point, we want to be fiscally responsible if we can leverage other dollars with our dollars to make sure that we're not overspending that we could spend on otherwise projects.
But your action tonight, if you so agree, would set aside at least $6 million. Maybe we have to spend all six of it, hopefully just a portion thereof. Your third question about water and sewer, yes, the American Rescue Plans can be used for water and sewer. Keep in mind that any water and sewer would be a partnership with Greenville Utilities Commission, and any affected property owners would be required to agree to annexation, to be annexed into the city if the city so chose to do that in terms of a condition of extending water and sewer. So I'm just.
Thank you. I had heard about the 800 million. I thought it was billion, but it was a large amount, but I had not heard anything about it, and I wanted to bring it up because I am hearing about it in the community about sewage and water and broadband. And so I wanted the people to know that I haven't forgotten it and I remember it, but I wanted a public answer to those. Thank you.
Mr. Albright's hands up. Oh, Commissioner.
Yes, it looks like this takes two motions. Is that right? I'd like to move approval of the project ordinance.
I second it. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the project ordinance. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin. Commissioner
Yes.
McLaughlin.
Yes.
Commissioner Conley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Can I move approval of the spending allocation as indicated on the ARP plan as presented by Brian?
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick. Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now move to the next one, which is the opioid litigation resolution. Attorney Janice Gallagher.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. In your packet is a proposed memorandum of understanding that has been prepared by the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners and their 555 team. Many of you heard about this agreement at your last NCACC conference. And this memorandum of agreement, what it does is it sets the distribution formula for the proposed national settlement in the opioid litigation. So, as you know, the national settlement is proposed to distribute $21 million over 18 years. $1 billion over 18 years to states and local governments. And Johnson & Johnson is scheduled to distribute $5 billion over 9 years. It's estimated that approximately $850 million of those dollars will come to North Carolina. And when those funds come to North Carolina, they need to be distributed between the state and the local governments. If you sign this memorandum of agreement, it will allow 85% of the money to come to Pitt County, but to local governments, excuse me, and 15% to be retained by the state. In order to maximize that 85% recovery, municipalities over 75,000 in population who will receive money, actually municipalities over 30,000 in population, also have to sign this memorandum of agreement. And I'm pleased to say that the city of Greenville did sign it at their last meeting on September 9th. And so what I'm recommending is that the county sign this memorandum of agreement and that we return it to the NCACC as they're requesting so that we can maximize our percentage of the settlement recovery.
Madam Chair, motion
any
to.
questions.
I second
Motion
it.
we go
It's
ahead.
been moved,
Yeah.
moved in second that we approve the MOA. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now move to the redistricting. James Rose and Attorney Gallagher.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. You may recall we received the public law data about a month ago from the Census Bureau, and since that point in time, we've met with you a couple of times to talk about the initiation of a redistricting plan for your voter districts. Just at your last meeting, you may recall that it was shown based off the census data that redistricting was going to be needed because of the disproportionate growth around the community. Not surprisingly, north of the river actually lost population, whereas areas south of the river around the Winterville area, southeastern and southwestern Greenville, both grew pretty rapidly. So tonight, we're going to show you what staff has come up with that we believe accomplishes those working assumptions that you agreed to last time, and talk through more of the schedule to get you these new voter districts by the appointed time. So we will give you an overview, some of the things that we talked about at the last meeting, especially with the working assumptions and some of those census statistics. We'll go through the individual districts and how they are changed in this proposed redistricting plan. We'll go back through the project schedule, and most importantly, we're soliciting your input prior to going to the public hearing or hearings based on your decision tonight about the upcoming dates for those hearings. So we do have some time. We would like at the end of the meeting, if at all possible, to start scheduling time with those commissioners that might have a concern or might want to look more closely at some of these maps. So just as a reminder, going back to the Constitution, there are requirements that when we get this new census data, we need to reflect back at the individual districts that currently stand and see if there's a disproportionate number of people that reside in those districts based off the new census numbers. Our rule of thumb is basically plus or minus 5%. And you may recall I think we all were a bit taken aback that our numbers didn't go up quite as much as we expected last time. Our total population based off the census count is 170,243 divided by 6. We have 6 districts. So our magic or our target number here is 28,374. We are not able to obtain that perfect number in every district for a number of reasons, but we have tried to make it as close as possible. Just a reminder, we are given this census data in the smallest geography we have is a census block. Not all these blocks make good common sense as to how they've been drawn. So you'll see a few nuances when we show you the proposed district lines tonight that you would probably question and wonder why that block is a block. But we'll show you some of those as we go through that. But just remember, that is our lowest common denominator. Those census blocks are not only used for our redistricting, they're used for precinct boundaries and other things such as that. So here's our numbers. Remember, we took the old election districts, and based off these new census blocks, these are your numbers. And we had, based off that plus or minus 5% range, we had 3 districts, districts 2, 3, and 4, that were out of kilter. So we'll talk about that story, and we're going to start with Commissioner Perkins Williams' district north of the river. That you can tell, low in population. We knew we had to grow that geographically to bring in more people into that district, and we'll show you some other things that changed accordingly. It's a ripple effect as you go through this process. So again, we talked about the one person, one vote, making sure that we've got generally same number of people per district to get you and others elected per these districts. There are also other state requirements ensuring that we do have contiguous boundaries, not satellite boundaries by any means. And also not being retrogressive, ensuring that the minority voting strength is not diluted. And we'll talk more about that as we go through some of the numbers. Some of our secondary working assumptions that were approved by you last time: protection of incumbents, and I'm happy, I'll go ahead and spill the beans here. We were able to retain all 6, really all 9 in their current districts. So the 6 numbered districts and those that are the combined districts, all retained within their respective areas. Also, development of compact districts. This is somewhat subjective. We feel like that we have accomplished that. And then using existing voter districts best we could, again, moving as few people as we had to make these numbers work. So we'll show you some of that. Okay, on to the maps. Anytime you see the dark blue lines, those were the old lines. The shades, the shaded areas are the new geographic areas for these election districts as proposed tonight. So as I mentioned, we're going to start with Commissioner Perkins' district number 2, which is north of the river. We say that, but actually a portion of that bleeds into West Greenville already. So some of the stats just to start off with. Formerly, when we were under certain other guidance, we had majority minority districts. So I am going to point out percent Black. This time with Census 2020, there were a lot more race categories. So this other population here, you can see within District 2 is substantially changed. There's a lot more people that are identifying as an other category now. But specifically under the Black percentage, you can see still over 50% Black within District 2. The deviation, we have put a lot more geographic area, a lot more people into this district to make it very close to our target. Also maintain a compact district and retain the incumbent within that current district. So let's talk about it. Seems odd, yes, we're actually talking about removing things from District 2 also. And one reason, District 3, Commissioner Nunley's district, also was low in population. This area in the downtown Greenville area has been removed. It runs up to the railroad track, a good solid boundary on the west side. That's been removed and bleeds over into District 3 now. So that's one removal. Very small other area, just to refine a line more clearly down Beast Barbecue Road. That's been removed from District 2 into District 4. What did we add? A very substantial area removed from District 1, Ms. Huggins' district. And this is basically the area, just to orient you a bit. This is right in front of the building we're sitting in on West 5th Street. So we've got West 5th Street running on out, south of that, all the way down to the railroad track on the western side, and then almost to the very edge of the southwest bypass. That includes Stantonsburg Road area in the urbanized portion of the city. All that is removed from District 1, added to District 2. Also a very small area removed from District 4. This is a little portion between the current district and going to the southwest bypass. Really, no housing units in there. It's just a small one census block. So that again wraps up. Those were the major changes to, or all the changes going into District 2. District 1, this is Chairwoman Floyd Huggins' district. Basically has been known as Central Greenville. You can see we just have shifted a major portion of Central Greenville over to District 2. However, to offset that, District 1 has grown further south. So the original boundary pretty much along Greenville Boulevard and some other areas to the south now and to the west have been added. The deviation very, very close to the target number. These are your major areas that were added. This is Allen Road, the railroad track. So our landfill sitting right in this area. Everything south of that and to the west of Allen Road, all the way out to the southwest bypass, now in District 1. Also going further south along Memorial Drive, all of West Haven subdivision. Just as an example, a portion of Thomas Langston Road, also included in District 1 now. Small area removed from District 1, added to District 4, just to make primarily the numbers as close as possible. And as we said, removed from District 1, added to 2. That's the area that we removed, and we've already discussed as part of District 2. Other areas right in the heart, the downtown area, again, we've mentioned District 3. It's a ripple effect. District 3 need a little bit more population. The area downtown, some of the new student housing complexes downtown have been moved. This is Reed Circle. You can see the curve right there, small portion of Dickinson Avenue. The remainder of the Truna neighborhood, all within District 3 now, and then just a few blocks right here off of Elm Street that have also been removed. from District 1 added to District 3. So there you go. That is the complete District 1 now in gold. If you look at the numbers, again, trying to keep the numbers as close as possible, just a very small decrease, or I should say increase, in the percent black. And also look at the other category, a larger percentage of folks in that district also identifying as a other race. Okay, it gets easier from here. So those were the bigger changes because those districts were somewhat kind of out of whack. Here we go into District 3. We've already mentioned. Look at that, very close. Ironically, we've got the same deviation, negative 0.17% in both Districts 2 and 3 now as proposed. That's the small area we talked about moving from District 2 into District 3. That area also removed from District 1 into District 3. So we've talked about those previously. And what you really have, again, extending that district right along the Tar River into the downtown area to encompass enough population to get it very close to the target number. On to District 4. Remember this particular district, Commissioner Albright's district, was higher in population than what we needed. So you'll see several areas that have been removed. Also, a few areas that have been added just for the cleaning up of the boundary lines. Those have already been mentioned from District 1. Those two large areas, significant population that were taken out of District 4, added to District 1. On the flip side, District 5, we're going to move into that at the same time. District 5 was too high in population, so this segment between Memorial Drive and the railroad track just on the west side of Winterville has now been added to District 4. And finally, District 6 was a bit high in population. To make those numbers just right, we've also included a small area that goes down Reedy Branch Road and 903. That has been added into District 4, removed from District 6. There's your deviation, very close to the target. We've already mentioned what happened to District 5, basically held intact except for that one area that's been moved between the railroad track and Memorial Drive to District 4. Very close in its target population. And then finally, District 6, that area we've already mentioned. The area that was removed from District 6 was added to District 4 and makes those numbers very close. There's your deviation, just over 1%. So, a lot of numbers on this sheet, but most importantly, let's look at a few. The 5% above and below, we're well within that range. Actually, we're less than 2.5%. So we're right at 2.44%. When you take the highest, which District 2 is 1.3% above, District 6, 1.1% below. So your full range is right at 2.4. Also, just to mention retrogression again, these are our final percent black numbers for Districts 1 and 2, both over 50%. And I'd also highlight here too, the other percent that is significantly larger than it was in 2010. So on from that, the proposed timeline, we're here tonight. We've got a couple of requests for you. Number one, whether you in fact want to hold 2 public hearings. One would then have to be held at your next meeting on the 27th, along with the one that we had already recommended for the October 18th meeting. So those we'd like to get action on tonight. Certainly at your October 18th meeting, you can take action then. We've suggested holding off until November 1st to take official action on whatever plan is ultimately decided upon. But ultimately, November 15th is your very latest date as far as your meeting schedule is concerned. So with that tonight, Madam Chair, two things. We need your input. We have a short window of opportunity to get these maps created and to your liking. And also, we would like to invite you in small groups to meet with staff with any questions or concerns you have so we can work this out as quickly as possible. Just as an example, Madam Chair, the next 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, we've got windows of opportunity at that point that staff members are already blocking off for any meetings that you might want, and we can certainly do that into next week. But we need to get that back, especially if you're planning to hold a public hearing at your next commissioner meeting. So a lot of information. Be glad to discuss any questions you may have.
Well, thank you. And first, I would like to propose that we have those 2 public hearings. That's my input there. Any other comments?
Ms. Rose, will we be able to get a copy of those maps so I can look at them up close? So the lines on it doesn't tell me anything from where I sit. Number one. Number two, I'm concerned and I'm getting complaints about the last school board meeting. The parents.
I'm sorry, Madam, I didn't hear the last what meeting?
The last school board election. The schools in certain districts, the parents cannot talk with other parents that they know are communities of interest. None of the children in, I want to tell you what the concern was, I'll get it just right. At down Evans Street, at the church, there was 6th Street for the school board, and none of the students go to school in the area of District 2, but yet the people in other areas at other schools was voting for district schools out that way. You know what I'm trying to say?
Not really, but I'm going to make this comment for everyone's sake. Remember that the school district boundaries no longer coincide with your election boundaries. There was special legislation done within the last several years, totally different district boundaries for your school board members versus what you currently have.
And different process. We don't regulate
Different
that
process. We're not participating in that this time.
We're just talking about commissioners' districts. That's all we're talking about.
Who's going to answer those questions?
The Pitt County School Board.
School board and their attorney.
Because you know what I'm saying? Okay, I refer them to you and the school board because the people in Hopkins Park, not Hopkins, Evans Street, what's on Evans Street? That housing authority project on Evans Street over by where Sylvia Chapel used to be.
When we meet with you about your district lines, we'll be glad to give you contact information with the Board of Education.
I want to do that. So but I need a map the way I can tell about these little piece of lines on there. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments? Questions, rather?
Will I be able to meet with you and Liquor?
No, that would be a separate process.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sure the county manager will handle that for you.
We have no input into the redistricting of the Pitt County School Board districts. That'd be a matter between, if you wanted to contact them, we could put you in contact with them, but we have no input or say or influence as to how the school board sets their districts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Madam Chair, if you're looking to set those two public hearing dates, we'd like that formal action tonight. And again, we're open and willing to meet over the next couple of days with commissioners. We've talked with the clerks to the board, and they can help assist in scheduling any of those meeting dates that you'd like to have.
I will entertain a motion, please, for 2 public hearings. That is what I'm supposed.
Are we looking to just set them on our next 2 regular meeting sessions? Is that what I understand?
That's correct.
Madam Chair, I move to that effect, that we set 2 public hearings at our next 2 regular county commission meetings.
I second it. Okay, it's been moved and second that we move forward with 2 public hearings. Our next 2 county commission meetings. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mclaughlin, Commissioner McLaughlin,
He's muted.
You're muted.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin,
He's still muted.
motion passes unanimously.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rose. We're now back to Kelly again.
Yes, and I can actually handle this one. She's
Oh,
here,
okay.
but this one is basically withdrawing their request. They did ask for the statement to be read to you as a board. We received an email today, this morning, and he says, "Hello, I'd like my email to be read to the Board of Commissioners meeting this evening and is in regard to our offer to purchase county-owned land." So it's good evening, Commissioners. This is Prem Singla, President of Design, Construction, and Commissioning Incorporated, DC&C. We've made an offer to purchase a section of county-owned land to build our metal fabrication facility to support highly specialized industrial equipment in the manufacture of pharmaceutical products. We are a small business and hope to become big one day. We understand that this is not in the best interest of the county to sell this land to small business like ours, and we will be more useful to the community if a really big company is the buyer, which will bring more jobs. For this reason, DC&C is withdrawing our offer and will look for alternative sites, which is more appropriate to small businesses. We appreciate the time county officials have spent in reviewing our offer and reaching a decision which is in the best interest of the citizens of Pitt County. Best regards, Prem Singla, President, DC&C.
Okay, thank you. So this, no action.
Correct.
Scott, one question. Are we working on helping them?
I'll ask Kelly, do you want to address the question? Are we working?
No. Okay, you are. Okay, good. I figured you were, but I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
All right, we'll move to the next item, offer to purchase county-owned property acquired by tax foreclosure. Attorney Gallagher.
Yes, you've done one recently like this in the past. This one, the information is in your packet. We've had an offer from Mr. Darden to purchase property that the county acquired in tax foreclosure. And it begins on page 149 of your packet. He's offered $1,500 to purchase this lot, which is beside property that he currently owns. Its current tax value is $2,600. The county has $1,200 into it from back taxes at the time of the original foreclosure sale. So this is presented to you for consideration. If the board wants to consider this offer, then it would advertise for upset bids for a 10-day period. And when the upset bid period is complete, the board would have the opportunity to accept, reject the highest offer.
Madam Chair, move that we accept the bid and begin the upset bid process.
Second. It's been moved and second that we accept the bid and move forward with it. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin. Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner McLaughlin. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now move to certificate of need request. Scott, you want to?
Yes, ma'am. Tonight you have representatives from Monday Asset Management who are here to present a project to you, and the ask concerns a certificate of need. They would like to transfer 29 beds from Winterville Manor in Winterville to their project, and you have information in your packet, but I will ask the representatives who are going to speak tonight. I think they've got a PowerPoint we're pulling up now. They would like to, and basically I think you've got the PowerPoint in your package, but the project is much more comprehensive than just transferring the 29 beds. These are adult care beds that would require the state to approve. You've got a proposed letter of support for the transferring of the beds in your packet, and I'd ask one of the representatives to come forward and make the presentation.
Good evening. My name is Paul Meyer. I'm an architect and principal of Workplace Architecture and Design, working on behalf of Monday Pioneer and their team. I'm sorry.
Just
Can
speak
you?
up.
Oh,
It's between this and whatever.
okay. Is this better?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'll present the project tonight at hand. It's actually, as Mr. Elliott pointed out, it is a more than just a CON transfer tonight. We want to specifically talk about the CON transfer and hopefully gain a letter of support with respect to that. But the project at hand is an intergenerational development that's located on off of NC 43. It was a former site of the Springshire development that did not come to fruition. The land is 144 acres, with a portion of that being developable. And it will consist ultimately, or hopefully, of a senior living community and residential unit, a charter school, and then mixed intergenerational amenities that tie the two together. The project is fully financed by the Monday Asset Management. So one thing to point out is the intergenerational component of the development. So intergenerational sites are often not well understood, but we are mixing a senior living development with a charter school. Intergenerational properties and projects have substantial benefits. Those benefits come to the older adults, they come to the youth, and they also come to the community. So a few items that are benefits to, and I want to quickly go through this because I think it's important to the project. A few benefits to the older adults. There's an increased socialization. There's continued learning as they age. There's improved emotional support also as they age. And there's improved health with their interactions with the youth within the development. Benefits to the youth also come pretty strong. They consist of improved academic performance, enhanced social skills as they interact with elders. Decreased negative behavior has been seen in intergenerational sites and communities, and also there's increased stability in their attendance at school, etc. The benefits to community, we have it strengthens community resources, maximizes those resources. As you can see, seniors are the biggest volunteer base, and they're able to interact with and volunteer with the school. That consists of reading stories, helping with homework, participating in special programs, and helping teachers. And this has shown significant benefits to the students, also as mentioned to the seniors. Other community benefits, it encourages and improves cultural exchanges, and you can maximize financial resources
by utilizing the seniors and the youth to benefit one another. What you're seeing here is the proposed master plan of the facility. So on the right-hand side, or on the left-hand side of the page, just to set the stage, is NC 43. The spur that you see kind of teeing off of 43 is Rock Springs Road, so that gives you a little bit of a geographical location as to where this falls. On the right-hand side of the plan is the senior living facility, and this consists of independent living, memory care, and assisted living units. The total facility size is around 190,000 square feet. On the left-hand side is the charter school. So the charter school is a pre-K through 12th grade. It will ultimately consist of around 800 students and serve 800 students. And as well as, extracurricular activities with athletic complexes, football, soccer field, a track. The track is actually has wider ADA lanes for accessible access that can be used for, students as well as the seniors. And then one of the unique components is between the two facilities. That's where we have our intergenerational amenity areas, and those amenities include and are not limited to pickleball, community gardens, pollinator gardens, and play areas. And again, those are intended for use from both the seniors as well as the youth. So that's where they mix. They also will interact and mix with one another in the facilities themselves. The senior living component, which is the need for the transfer of the beds, that is a multi-phase project. So just to kind of quickly go over that. The first phase will consist of 100 independent living units, 36 assisted living units, and 24 memory care units. The second phase of the project, which will be in the future, will consist of an additional 24 assisted living units and 12 additional memory care units. In total, after phase 2 of that project, the facility size will total just north of 200,000 square feet. So this kind of just goes over the items that I described. The senior living facility, the target is to open in the spring of 2023. And that would consist of breaking ground next year, early part of next year. There will be no entry fees. And again, the amenities, which we just described, will fall into that phase 1 development. So they'll be included right at the get-go. The charter school is targeted to open in the fall of 2023. So we're targeting breaking ground early part of next summer. As mentioned, that is pre-K through 12th grade. The core knowledge, it's a core knowledge school with college prep focus. And as mentioned, it has amenities that consist of regulation football, soccer fields, championship track with wider lanes for wheelchair access. Again, that's beneficial to both the students as well as the seniors who live across the way. A field house with classrooms and community-based activities, and a gymatorium that can be used as multi-purpose space, as well as a daycare center. Just to kind of touch a little bit more on the intergenerational amenities that were described and seen on the plan, there are walking and biking trails planned, a community garden, an amphitheater, intergenerational playground, and that has equipment for both the seniors as well as the youth, and then pickleball and bocce courts. So the intent is to mix intentionally and programmatically the age ranges for the wide variety of benefits to the community, to the youth, and to the seniors. So I believe the request tonight is a letter of support for those CON bed transfers for that phase 1 of the project, but we did want to describe the project at full. So thank you very much for your time, and we're here for any questions.
Do you have any questions?
I'm curious as to whether the school board has been consulted with this. It's a really impressive project, and the idea of the intergenerational and what all the planning that's gone into it looks really terrific. I think that with us being in the business of public education, that it creates some concern that we're putting a school not far from another school here, and we're suggesting to build a football field. And also wonder about from planning, if schools fall into an exempt category, Mr. Rhodes, does a facility like all of these need some sort of a process in planning?
Short answer, that isn't an answer. That's in the city's jurisdiction.
Okay.
And
Okay.
again, that area has been set aside for an institutional type setting previously.
So we wouldn't have
it's
anything to
very-
do with that.
it
My
would
concern
not
with the
be.
schools remains, do we know if the Pitt County schools have been involved in any of this?
So, I'll welcome John.
No, Pitt County schools have not been involved. The charter school will not fall under the jurisdiction of Pitt
I
County
understand that,
schools.
yes. Thank you.
Ms. Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. But charter schools do receive public funding, and does come out of the pot for the allocation we have per student to educate students in the county. And I would expect that with the project this aggressive, that the school board would certainly be consulted with, so that those impacts on our budget, we're the ones that set the budget for allocations to the schools, that before we, I guess, jump on board with such an aggressive project, at least that I would be willing to, I would want to hear from what those impacts would be. And I would expect that the school board would be consulted and not boxed out of it, due to where our money goes.
Also, my concern, I asked the county manager some questions before, and which he could not answer, and I was concerned about the transferring of 29 existing adult beds. So I would like for us to get some more information about this, and before we move forward with giving a letter of need. Also checking with the school board and other, the state as well, before we move forward with a letter of need. Commissioner Colson, you had your hand up.
Well, just remember that charter schools do not get the same amount of funding per child. So the amount is not a one-to-one loss. Can you give me any idea as to what kind of price range your independent apartments are going to be targeted at, or what are you looking at?
Sure, it's going to be a middle market product, which is something that Pitt County doesn't have. And so what you're going to have is a facility that goes in and provides something that is a superior middle market product at a very affordable price. And it doesn't, and the big thing here is that it does not include an entrance fee. And so the monies that if you take, for example, your normal community care retirement community, where people are having to go in and sell their homes before they are able to enter into one of these facilities. In this case, that need is not going to have to take place because this is going to be a rental model and not a pay-in model.
So what is your target affordable, using your word, affordable rate? What are you looking at now?
So the monthly carry is going to be anywhere from $2,800 per month for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, to around $4,500 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Is that per person, or is that if
That's
a
per
couple
unit.
were to do the 1-bedroom, 1-bath is
It's per unit.
per unit?
Correct.
Okay, all right. That's enough. I just want some ballpark numbers.
Okay, and let me be very clear here. So what we're asking for is a letter of support for something that Pitt County does not have. This is something that is going to be very transformational for Pitt County. You know, when you talk about intergenerational communities, you know, there really aren't any that are like this in the United States. So what you're doing is you're putting a charter school, which is a publicly funded school, along with a very affordable rental model that really goes in and as Paul said, provides all kinds of enhancements to the aging, as well as the cross-generational benefits to the youth. And, you know, that's, you know, I just think it's a terrific benefit for this community. And so we would not like for you guys to delay the decision here, you know, because we have deadlines that we have to meet. And, you know, we're here to answer any questions that you may have. There was a question that was brought up about the 29 beds. Right now, there is a glut of beds in Pitt County. And so the 29 beds that will be transferred to this facility will not in any way take away from any occupancy challenges that Pitt County has. Right now, there are way more beds that are available, even if you take these 29 out of the system.
Well, Madam Chair, with that, I'd like to make a motion that we can, that we go ahead and
Commissioner,
give a
Commissioner
letter of
That's
support
like he's gonna do what I'm.
for certificate of need.
Beg pardon?
I said I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we, as county commission, offer a letter of support towards a certificate of need.
I second that. I mean, we're not gonna, none of our money, that's not gonna be a problem. It's something that, like you said, we do not have. There's really not options for many people who are looking when they want to leave their homes and have the means to be able to do it. And there's really nothing in this area, not just in Pitt County, but in the east. So
Well, it's
I'd
not,
like to see it here.
it's not that it's not a great idea. It is a great idea. But I don't think that we have done our due diligence in checking this before we issue this. And county manager's got a question.
Yes, can you tell the board what portion of this would be taxable property that would be added to the tax base? Any of it or a portion of it?
Yeah, so so let me be clear. This entire development is going to be not for profit. And so, you know, there is not any element here that is going to be one for profit, Scott. The other thing here is that, and let me be very clear, you know, this is in my opinion, this is a no-brainer for the county because one of the extreme benefits here is that, again, one, there is no pay-in. Secondly, there is going to be a set-aside fund that if the occupants of the senior facility run out of money, there will be a fund that is available to assist them with their living for a certain period of time. And so that is something that is generally not found in these types of rental models. But that is something that we are willing to do because we want this project, one, to succeed, and two, for there to be an affordable model for Pitt County that that is just not here now.
I'd like to have our attorney weigh in on it.
Certainly, as to the aspect of whether you, as to what aspect, Madam Chair?
The whether or not we're in the position or whether we have enough information about this to give a letter of need support.
So I would say that's really up to each individual board member to determine whether or not what you've heard tonight is sufficient for you to make your decision to support this project, or whether or not you as an individual feel that you need more information to determine whether you're comfortable moving forward from whatever aspect that may be, whether it be through the Board of Education or otherwise. This is the first that the board is hearing of this project tonight, and the first I've heard of it as well. So it would really be up to each individual board member as to whether or not you have sufficient information. You certainly could move forward if you're comfortable, but if you need additional time, then that's within your discretion as well.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The question about the charter, the proposed charter project. Sorry, I moved to the mic. Charter schools, and particularly charter schools in the South, ought to become de facto segregated schools, either financially or racially. And my concern is, has your group thought about composition of the student body and the impact pulling potentially 800 students from our county would have on the district as a whole, as it seeks to maintain balance and move forward with racial justice and equity within our community and access to education?
Of course, we've thought about that. And you know, again, you know, we, as you know, being a charter schools are public schools. And so, you know, the enrollment is on a first come, first serve basis. And so, you know, any student who applies before there is enough students to have a lottery, then those students are accepted at the school. And so, so the school is not going to target any race, nor is it going to target any income bracketed kids. So it's going to be first come, first serve. Now, one of the things that, again, I want to emphasize here is that, you know, look, we've all seen the challenges that Pitt County has had, especially with regards to educating its underrepresented minorities. And so with this core knowledge program, you know, what we plan on doing is saying every child can learn at his or her highest abilities. And so the core knowledge program is going to emphasize building those core fundamental skills pre-K through 8th grade, and thus giving each child that comes into this school the ability to learn at his or her highest level. And then when that student becomes high school eligible, they can enter into the high school, which is going to put them on a college preparatory pace. And so with the K through 8 foundational skills in hand, we're going to say to these kids, if you want and desire to go to college, we are going to put you on a pace to go. And it doesn't matter what income demographic that you come from, what race demographic that you come from. You know, are you going to be able to meet the educational requirements?
So if I understand you correctly, do you have transportation plans for students of low-income communities to be able to make it to your campus and facility? Is that part of the budget and proposed?
Yes, we do. And we are going to have buses that will come in and that will transport the kids to and fro. And not only the kids in the kindergarten through 12th grade, but with our pre-K 3, pre-K 4 program, we're also going to have the ability to transport them. And the other part is that we are going to, especially we understand that there are parents whose kids will attend the school who won't have the job flexibility to pick their kids up at at 2:45, between 2:45 and 3:30. And so we're going to provide an after-school program that can be used for enhancement, that can be used for acceleration. And so we are here. We are going to work hand in glove with the community to, again, promote, to put together something that we think this community truly needs.
So I'd love to see those figures. I'd also love to hear feedback from Pitt County Schools. I've started to hear some of what I would like to consider to support a letter, but this evening, on this short notice, I'm not prepared to do that. But it's not at all bets are off.
No.
But this is a big project. There are a lot of budgetary implications. There are a lot of other implications that I would need to see, and I appreciate the answer. So it's not end of the day, but I certainly do not see enough just for the other members of this board know where I stand to support moving forward at this time. But it's not a firm no in the future.
No, that's what I was saying too. It's not a no, it's just a deferred until our next meeting until we can get more information and be able to feel that we are making, the right decision.
Madam Chairman.
Well, I
Can we have a
withdraw
motion
my
on the floor?
second if Tom will
Madam
withdraw
Chair.
the motion. And then we can get some reports back
Madam
next
Chair,
week.
may
Are we
may
gonna
I,
are we gonna reconsider the next meeting? Is that what we were saying?
Yes.
may I
All right,
make,
then I'll withdraw my motion.
may I make a brief comment?
Yes.
I know there's a lot of questions regarding the charter school component of the project. The request tonight, and we described the entirety of this proposed development. The request tonight, however, is just to consider the transfer. As Jonathan mentioned, there's a kind of a glutton of CON beds. The request tonight is only to give a letter of support for the transfer of those CON beds for the senior living facility, not for the charter school.
Yeah, but
Not to approve anything else.
I'm not comfortable even giving that for those 29 beds until we have some more information with that. So, next meeting. Yes.
So again, there is a facility right here in Greenville that's a 120 bed facility that's only half full. And so again, so that's 60 beds that are vacant and unused and have been unused for a long time. And so what I would like to know is, how does having information like that, except for seeing it in black and white, help you with your decision?
My concern right now, I don't know about that 150 beds that you're talking about, but you're asking us to do 29, and we don't even know about those 29. So
I have a question of clarity here. If we're asking for a certificate of need and we have this glut of beds, who needs the beds? I mean, if we have this many empty beds, why is anybody building something to build more beds? I mean, is there something wrong with this system that we're not addressing?
Yeah, so what's missing from the system is the ability to rightfully go in and provide services to the aging so that people can age in place. And so what you have right now are a lot of Medicaid beds, and the Medicaid reimbursement here in the state of North Carolina is way too low to address the needs and to provide the services that we will be able to provide to the residents.
So we might need social services to weigh in on this. This is sort of a very, I'm not understanding really what's going on here with this number of beds that are open, and we're trying to get more.
Madam Chairman, we don't have any motion on the floor, and we don't have a chair or anything on the floor.
Well, I would just like to suggest that we defer to the next meeting, to our next meeting.
So when we defer, what are we gonna learn between now and then? What
We're
kind of
gonna
information is gonna come to us?
Ask the county manager and the attorney to bring back some information about, more information about the project and
I think the overall status of beds is an interesting question now, and how many of them are in the county, and how many are empty, and what does this do to that population as well as to the school population? It seems a much more complicated issue than it did at the beginning.
So I actually inquired of the state regarding the CON process, and I made several calls, but didn't get any return calls from them last week and even today. That's part of what the chairwoman was alluding to. So that was still kind of hanging.
So Scott, you and Janice know what you need to do between now and then? Because
Yes,
I certainly don't.
And we'll contact the school system. I guess the concern with the school system would be whatever the per pupil expenditure amount that Pitt County provides to Pitt County schools. Let's say it's $1,500 per student times 800 students. That'd take $1.2 million out of their overall budget that then is transferred to the charter school for their use to educate the kids. So the question is, I think what I'm hearing from you is, what impact would that have on Pitt County schools, and what would their position be?
That doesn't weigh into the fact that there's a lot of parents that like the thoughts of being able to take their children out of public school at their cost. They're already paying taxes for that, but they're deciding not to, and not everybody gets a scholarship. Majority of people end up having to pay it, but they want to put them in a charter school, and they want to put them in there for a reason, because they think that the children are going to get maybe a better education. And when you see the disobedience that goes on in the public schools and the stuff, it's the craziness. There's just no way that people that I can see should be considered making a bad choice by considering a charter school.
I wish we could refrain from attacking our public schools in this body.
It's not a case of attacking public schools.
It certainly is.
No, it's not.
What you just said was an attack.
No, it was not. It was a fact. I'm sorry that you can't deal with the facts.
Commissioner Nunley?
Will say, I think this is a point that there's a larger debate to be had. And we are not, based on the materials we were presented tonight, at least I'm not in a position to be able to make a determination to move forward.
I agree. I'm not in.
It's that simple.
So, do I have, can I do a consensus that we'll just defer until next month's meeting?
Yes.
Consider the questions and the comments and bring it back.
Yes, and then we'll, at our next meeting. Thank you. We'll we'll move then to the budget amendment, and I believe that's Brian coming up.
So tonight, actually, I think the next 3 items are all mine. The first one here is a budget amendment to tap into our contingency funds. As you are aware of, anytime we go into contingency to move that money to the appropriate place of spending requires your approval. In this case, we're looking at $2,832. This is part of the enhanced security for board meetings. This would allow us the opportunity to contract security as needed for this room. I do want to point out that this particular ask is only until December 20th. So we would have to come back at the first of the year or at the last meeting in December and extend this for the rest of the fiscal year if you so choose to move forward.
Move approval, Madam Chairman.
Second it.
It's been moved and second that we approve this item. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
No.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
No.
Commissioner Mclaughlin,
Commissioner Mclaughlin says his sound is giving him problems, and he said for his vote to count with the majority.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
No.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-2.
Okay, thank you. Next.
So the next 2 items here, you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit because I have to go and you're gonna get a behind the scenes on local government finance. But back in
Excuse me, Mr. Barnett.
Yeah.
Your voice is down, doesn't project.
You pull the mic up or over or something.
Just
Thank you.
Just
speak louder.
It'll go.
can't go any higher.
Yell.
Holla.
I will speak very loudly so you can hear me.
Good.
So last spring, we approved our LOBS 2021 bond. As part of that approval, we did some refunding and refinancing of some of our older debt. One of those debts in particular was our 2012 COPS. As part of the 2012 COPS, we were not allowed to call the debt until after this particular fiscal year, 2022. So we thought as we were approving the 2021 LOBS that we were approving all the remaining debt on the COPS, or the 2012 COPS, where in reality, we still had one more year of debt payments to make. So from a functional standpoint, we still have one more payment left on the 2012 COPS. We have the cash to pay it. Unfortunately, we do not have the budget in place. So on paper, we don't have a budget for it, but we have more than enough funds to cover it. So to keep us within violation, out of violation of our budget ordinance, we would have to budget for that debt payment of the last debt payment of the 2012 COPS. In a perfect world, we would have included this in the existing budget ordinance. But for us to move forward with this payment, we would have to establish a budget, and this is what this budget amendment is asking for us to do, is to establish the budget to make the final payment on the 2012 COPS.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Second it.
Must be moved in second that we approve this budget amendment. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Chair, if I could interrupt, just to clarify, I believe the vote on item number 7 would have been 6-3, not 7-2, with Commissioners Fitzpatrick, Colson, and White voting against, just for purposes of your record.
Okay, thank you.
And then the last item I have here tonight, 2 years ago, we decided with our Capital 123 program that typically the general fund had funded for Pitt County schools, that we were going to use our restricted sales tax money to start making that payment. This frees up the $1 million in the general fund for other purposes as you all see fit. From a budgetary standpoint, you guys may recall that during the budget, we always give you the duplicated budget number and the unduplicated budget number. Part of that is because when one fund pays another fund, you actually are making 4 entries instead of 2. So what we have ended up here is that we have the capital reserve fund, the restricted money paying the general fund. We need the general fund to officially accept the money so then we can spend it. It's a lot of
approval.
second.
It's been moved and second that we approve. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay. One.
That was it. We're on 10 now, right?
Number 10.
Okay. Number 10.
Okay, so you have reappointments and reappointments to the Pitt County Planning Board. There's a recommended motion to reappoint Don Brown, David Davenport, and Steve Little. They're seeking an appointment for 2 at-large members and 1 person for District C.
Madam
Can it be
Chair.
done in one motion, or do we need separate for each one?
Might be easier. I'd recommend separating. If you want to take the Don Brown, David Davenport, and Steve Little, handle that first and then handle.
Move approval of those 3.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we approve those 3. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make some recommendations. First, to vote on the at-large seats that are not filled.
Yes, Madam.
Okay, hopefully I get this all right. The at-large seats, Charles Mclaughlin, I've spoken to all of these people. They had an application in to serve, and I checked to make sure they were still interested. And Lyman Hardy at large, and then District C is a Madison Downing.
Okay. That's your motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we appoint those names called. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Now move to the Greenville Utilities, Scott.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, as you'll recall, recently you did make a nomination to the GUC Board of Lawrence Davenport. He actually went through their orientation, then realized he had a time conflict with another board, so he has withdrawn his desire to serve the GUC Board. It is being recommended to consider Farrell Blunt from Bethel, and the connection on that would be that now that the GUC has taken over the Bethel utilities, that he would make a good consideration as a nomination to the Greenville City Council.
Madam Chair, I move that we nominate Mr. Farrell Blunt.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Farrell Blunt be nominated to the Greenville Utilities Commission. Are you ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, I believe. That comes down to, our commissioner comment or reports. Commissioner Ward.
No comment, no reports.
Okay. Commissioner Colson.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up the fact that the county fair every year provides a lot of entertainment and brings a lot of people into the county from out of county. The fairgrounds is run by the American Legion. They pay $11,000 or $12,000 a year in taxes. They are a nonprofit organization, but the sheriff's department has apparently got the authorization, or I don't know what the word is, the right to decide on how many deputies are needed out on the fairgrounds at any one time. And this year is the sheriff has padded it with as many as 17 people on a given day. 17 deputies or the equivalents thereof of deputies on a given day. And just 5 years ago is the amount of money that was spent for security was $8,000. That was in 2015, I'm sorry. 2016, it was only $5,400. And 2019, Sheriff Dance, and she has been elected, has ratcheted it up to 12,000, almost 700. Now she wants to ratchet it up to almost 20,000. And the fair does not have that kind of money. So I had asked Scott to get a meeting with the sheriff and with Kenneth Ross and sit down and discuss this and see what kind of, things could be brought in, to make it work, such that the sheriff only manned what was within the budget that the fairgrounds has. Well, the sheriff has a right to be able to call for mutual aid. And if she were to call the city of Greenville, it's my understanding the city of Greenville has in the past offered 4 officers at no charge, mutual aid. The Aiden has offered, from what I understand, 2. But the sheriff refuses to go to the mutual aid. And what she does is she has been putting a bunch of I'm going to say expenses on the fair every year, increasing. And what really kind of rankles me as much as anything is the sheriff, who we have just given a huge pay raise to. And when she was elected to her independent office, her job is a 24-hour-a-day job as far as I'm concerned. But when she goes out to visit the fair for 7 hours on a Sunday, she charged for herself too. So what I'm asking is for us to bring back as a motion or something for us to discuss as a possibility. What can we do to give relief to the fair? Can we give reimburse, say maybe 50% or whatever the sheriff demands that if she says that she wants 17 deputies there, then who can counter that? Nobody. She gets 17. And there's no way for them to really get that reduced unless the sheriff agrees. And so I would like to see us be able to bring back, and I'd like her to be part of the discussion as to why is it she doesn't go for mutual aid. She has to request it. We can't just say, okay, we'll call the city of Greenville and have them supply 4 people for law enforcement, police. It has to come through her. So I'd like to see that it be an agenda item for us as a board to discuss, and the ramifications and the possible giving back to the fair some portion of that money, maybe half of it, something, whatever we decide, whatever comes of the discussion.
Well, we will not be able to address this in time for this.
I
year's
understand.
ballot.
But, well, actually, you would. What we could do is we could refund a certain amount of money this year as to however much, if we transfer, or, I mean, they pay a certain amount of money in, they pay $20,000 in. Now that money's here. That money then can we not refund a portion of that back to them? I would say between now and next meeting, that would give Janice and Scott time to discuss the legal ramifications of what I'm asking for. But, you know, it just seems to me that there ought to be a meeting of minds, and the sheriff just absolutely is not going to relinquish. When we asked her to join the meeting, and she's conveniently on vacation.
So I did hold a meeting with the fair director and the president of the fair board today, and I told her I couldn't speak for the sheriff, but we tried setting the meeting up. But again, like Commissioner Colson says, the sheriff is out this week. But we will place this on the agenda for the 27th. The county attorney and myself will work on this and hopefully get the sheriff to the table at the same time. But we'll place this on the agenda for consideration.
Okay. Yeah, so going from 2016 from $5,400 to 2021, 20,000, that's a pretty big jump.
Do you know how many deputies were?
I don't know the exact number, but I do have a list of deputies here. In fact, I'll share this with you. I'll give it to you, Madam Chair, if you like it. For the different years, 2017 through 2021, the number of officers and how many hours per day they served and so on. If you would like to see that,
It's
would
normally
you like that?
12 deputies per night for a 6-hour shift. The only 2 nights she's proposing, 17, would be on Friday and Saturday. She's saying those are the highest volume of fair visitors and also the highest volume of fair incidences in which she needs extra manpower to handle those. Again, I can't speak for the sheriff, but I'm telling you just kind of some of the conversations she told me.
Well, we can put it on the agenda for next time and I'll bring some, and we'll discuss it. Commissioner Albright?
No comment.
Mr. Perkins?
No comment.
None?
No comment.
Commissioner McLaughlin? Oh, he's not. Commissioner White, you have comments?
No comment.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick?
No comment.
Who did I miss? Lincoln?
Miss Ward.
Okay.
No, you got her. I'm sorry. You got her.
Okay. My comments, I just want to encourage our citizens who have not gotten their vaccine to get their vaccine to protect themselves as well as protecting their family and others. So if you still have questions, please seek out medical professionals to get those questions answered. So I just want to again encourage you to get the vaccine. Thank you. And at this time, we're going into closed session. Madam Attorney?
Move to go into closed session.
Second.
We need to take a minute. Somebody say so.
And before you vote on that, if I could read your basis, Madam Chair. It has been suggested that this board go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3, attorney-client privilege, to consult with an attorney employed by the public body, and also under 143-318.11A4 to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses. And thirdly, under 143-318.11A1 to prevent the disclosure of confidential information. With that, you have a motion and second on the floor, and you can proceed to vote.
Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White, Commissioner
Yes.
Perkins Williams.
Yeah.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
What are we gonna do to ordinance?